past several years. I went back to 2017, and specifically I wanted to look at the fire tax, so that was of interest. So back then, the fire tax was only 0.25 mils. And our regular millage was 5.14. In 2017, there was a report that was requested to be done by DCED. The report actually got delivered in 2018, so that's the footnote there. And that report was regarding fire equipment assessment and recommendations that the township would plan funding for future needs for the fire department. So in 2018, there was before they even had the report, I guess 2017, they were looking ahead, increased the fire tax millage to 0.5. Once they got that report and looked at it, in 2019, we can see that the millage for the fire tax went up to a full one mil. With a total millage then of 6.39. That remained the same for 2020. And then in 2021, which I noted happened to be an election year, taxes were reduced, including the fire tax. So the fire tax went down to 0.75. And then along with the general purpose millage was reduced by a mil. So that was the rate that we've had for 2021, 2022, and 2023, which is what I said at the last meeting. You can go to the next slide. And then this slide, because there wasn't enough room to fit all the numbers, I didn't go back to 2017, but 2019 through 2023, I show the dollar amounts that those millage rates equate to in our budget. So it just kind of gives you a visual of what a mill is worth. And when you up and down it by little amounts, you can see how it affects in the fire revenue. Next slide. Okay, and then this slide just shows you, because the numbers changed and were proposed several times during the budget season. So originally we started out with the 4.39 general purpose millage with a 0.75 fire tax for a total millage of 5.14. That was the same amount that we had for the last 3 years. So that was before the election. After the election, there was a proposal made to reduce the millage to a flat 2 mils and leave the fire tax at 0.75. That did not get approved or passed. And then at the December 6th meeting, another rate was proposed, and that was a 3.65 mil for general purpose. And that amount was arrived because it was, you can only adjust the budget by a certain percentage after it's been advertised, so that was the amount that they could adjust it down to without having to re-advertise the budget. So that's where that number came from, and that is what passed then at the last meeting of December. In January, we opened up the budget again because we wanted to look at these millage rates, knowing what we know about the fire services needs and upcoming needs. We think that tax should be a little bit higher. More should be getting put into that fund for them. Again, we have the limitations though of you can only increase it by a certain percentage and stay within the budget. So the highest we could move it up to was 0.9 at this point. So that's what we did. We moved that up to 0.9. However, we thought the overall total millage that we were at before, the 5.14, was a good place to be. So that in turn gave us the 4.24 left for the general purpose. So that is what we proposed. That's where we are now. Not sure, is there one more slide? And then, so this this slide is kind of like the other slide where we show the dollar amounts that would be reflected by those different millage changes. So by bumping up the fire tax to 0.9, it increased the revenue that we can put into that fund up to $410,000 per year. And based on what we've seen, you know, it'll be easily spent on all the things that are needed. So that's that review.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Questions for, what was presented? Jason, you wanna go first?
Yeah, I do. I find it interesting that there's a proposal to raise the fire services tax. I think as this council knows and as the public knows, there was a fire services committee that was formed to address fire stations and equipment. Tom, you were the liaison to that. I had attended a few of those meetings, not all of them. There was a report that was given to council. This is the Lower Saucon Township, Lower Saucon Fire and Rescue 2023 Future Planning Fire Stations and Equipment Report date October 4, 2023. It's available. Is that available on the website, Mark?
It is on board docs.
All right. So that is available from October. And if you go to page 8 in the second full paragraph, the first paragraph talks about the purchase of the pumper tanker truck that we had agreed to purchase. But here's the most important part. It says, currently, Lower Saucon, and this is by members of this committee who were participants in this were Scott Creasha, Captain and President, Lower Saucon Fire Rescue; Ty Johnson, Fire Chief, Lower Saucon Fire Rescue; Anthony Madej, Battalion Chief, Lower Saucon Fire Rescue; Brian Evans, Battalion Chief, Lower Saucon Fire Rescue; David Spurk, Township Resident, Commercial and Residential Builder; Donna Louder, Township Resident; Tom Carochi, Council Liaison; Thomas Barn, Chief of Police; Mark Hudson, Township Manager; and Kathy Gorman, Assistant Township Manager. So certainly some decision makers and people who have perspective on this better than some participated in this, and they generated this report. It's a very nice report. And where it says here on page 8, second paragraph, currently, Lower Saucon Township assesses a 0.7 mil fire services tax to support the purchase of fire vehicles and equipment. On average, the Fire Services Fund receives approximately $332,000 per year. This number is expected to slowly increase as additional properties are built in the township. Currently, the fund has $1.298 million in savings after the township's 2023 payment of $134,313, payment number 3 of 5 for the 2020 ladder truck purchased by the Lower Saucon Fire Rescue. The township has 2 more payments for the ladder truck that were made in 2024 and 2025. The township's policy states that council has the ability to contribute up to 75% of the vehicle's cost. So the remaining balance for that ladder truck totals $268,000. At the time, there was approximately $1.3 million. So after making those 2 payments, even assuming that there was no additional revenue put into that fire services tax fund, there would still be more than $1 million left. But in fact, that fund will be much greater than $1 million. And significantly, nobody in that committee who prepared this comprehensive report about fire stations and equipment future planning said anything about the need to increase taxes to generate any additional revenue to provide for fire services. So that's the first issue that I have. Second issue I have is the township has $6.3 million in operational reserves. Is that correct, Kathy?
Yes.
That's $6.3 million of taxpayer money that the township is holding on to. The township's expenses or operational costs for 2024 are projected to be $8.7 million, correct? All right. So my thoughts are that it's improper for the township to hold so much taxpayer money. The appropriate amount I think that the township should hold is 25% of whatever the operational costs or expenses would be for the calendar year. And that number comes out to $2.175 million that we should be having in reserves instead of $6.3 million. So if I'm correct, $400,000 equals approximately 1 mil, is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
Approximately.
Right, so the township budget that we had approved, which is currently in place, provided for a millage of 3.64 mils, and what's being proposed here is 4.24 mils. So if we take the 6.3 million in reserves, and we reduce from that what should be in reserves, which is 25%, that means that the township currently holds $4.125 million that is too much from what it should be holding. And that $4.125 million that's too much translates into 10.3125 mils of too much money. So if 1 mil equals $100 for every $100,000 of assessed value, is that correct? 1 mil is $100 of every $100,000 assessed. That means that for every $100,000 of assessed value of somebody's home, this township is holding $1,031.25 that they should not be holding. So my thoughts here are two. I'm gonna make a motion. My motion is this. One, we do not increase the fire services tax. And two, that we reduce the reserves and reduce taxes to 0 mils, because right now the township is currently holding $4.125 million too much in excess of the 25% that it's permitted to be holding.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, any other discussion? And then you have to open it
I
up to the.
just wanna clarify, the last part of that, you proposed to lower the general purpose millage to 0, is that what I heard?
0.
Okay, and what was the fire tax millage proposal?
Remaining where it is at 0.75, where it has been.
So we would have a fire tax of 0.75 and a general purpose of 0. So are you proposing that the entire reserve fund that we currently have be used to balance our 2024 budget?
I'm saying that the reserve fund of $6.3 million is excessive, it's illegal, and the amount should be reduced down to $2.175 million, which represents 25% of the expenses or operational costs of the township. By doing that, we sit on $4.125 million of too much money. $4.125 million is 10.3125 mils. That translates into $1,031.25 for each $100,000 of assessed value of property homes. So my suggestion is that we not just reduce the millage to 0, but that we also consider the need to refund this money to the township homeowners.
Just, I'm sorry, I just have a couple questions. Ms. Gorman, what is the budget currently proposing in expenditures, total?
Total in general or total in everything?
Well, not, so let's take our general fund has how much in reserves? I think it was like 8 million or 9 million, something like that.
Our general fund reserves and operational reserves is 6.5 million.
6.5.
We are going to be utilizing some of that funding for the capital infrastructure improvements that council has already approved.
I
So
can't hear you, Kathy.
we are going to be using some of that for some of the capital infrastructure improvements that council has already approved.
In the capital budget.
It will be reallocated
Right.
to that
Right.
this coming year.
Okay, so, but in total, in all of those funds, we have 9 million or something? 8, 9 million?
Right now, as we speak, there's 6.5 in operational reserve, and there's 5 million in unrestricted. Of that 5 million, part of, probably around 2 million of that will be ended up transferring over to the capital fund for finishing out the projects that council approved.
So the capital fund would go from 6 to 8,
Well, right now, we're at 5, so,
5 to 7,
right.
okay.
But by the end of next year, we'll bring back down to less than 5, because these are contractual obligations.
Okay, and the total, I'm just trying to understand, I thought that
It's
our
not-
current budget is like 11 million or something in
It's
expenditures.
10.8. Within that 10.8, there's transfers that are to be made from our reserves and from ARPA, which is a general fund classification, and pursuant to Set Class Township Code, if it's identified as a general fund and I'm using it for capital fund purchases, I need to make that interoperational transfer between funds.
So if we reduce the general purpose millage to 0, would we have enough money in our funds to meet all of these contractual obligations that you identify in the 2024 budget?
I will have to go back and look at those numbers, but we will probably be liquidating most of what we have by the end of next year, in general fund.
In general fund, okay. And just so I understand the motion was to reduce that to 0, and how much money, and in addition, were you proposing to cut checks for our taxpayers?
That's not part of my motion. My motion is just simply to reduce the taxes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. And so, you're saying we would liquidate our general fund?
Well, if
We would liquidate
if we
our
have
operational
if we-
reserves.
Our operational reserves.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so what we have to do, so the
Can
public
I be
knows.
recognized? I didn't get to comment.
Sure, Tom, you can be recognized.
I didn't get to comment. So really, there's 6.5 million operational, and then 5 million in the cabinet. So that's 11.5.
And there's several million, 14 million in our special fund tax and
Right.
stuff, yeah.
So, I mean, this is a lot of taxpayer money. You know, whether it's 0% or the 5.14439, this is a lot of taxpayer money just sitting in township bank account. Do you know of any other municipality that has that much of taxpayer money sitting in bank accounts?
We are one of the best funded municipalities,
And
yes.
I'm fine with keeping us as one of the best funded municipalities, but at some point, it gets, you know, it's confiscating, dollars, hard-earned dollars by our residents and taxpayers. I mean, how much is enough? I mean, it's way more than our budget of, you said the spending this should be 8.7 million. You know, how much is enough? I mean, and to raise taxes, which is what, they're doing with this proposed budget.
This is not a raise.
Is ridiculous with millions and millions of dollars in the bank. This money belongs to the taxpayers, they're the ones that pay it. And, to collect more of it is, to me, you're right, possibly illegal, but certainly just ridiculous. The taxpayers deserve to keep their money, the township is paying money in the bank. And as for the fire services tax, you know, like I did sit on that committee, now, one of those guys mentioned the need for that, and I don't see anybody here from fire services or from our volunteer fire companies asking for that increase. I don't see anybody here, Scott Creech is not here, Ty Johnson's not here. If this was so needed by them, so needed by them, why aren't they here? Why aren't they here?
Okay,
So they're not here, it's been on the agenda, it's been on the agenda, I'm not done yet. So why are you trying to interrupt me? I don't recognize you. So, you know,
We'll
this has
recess
been
the
on the
meeting.
agenda, it's been on the agenda.
We're gonna recess the
And-
meeting.
And
Either you show respect, Tom, or we're gonna recess the
I'm
meeting.
speaking, I am showing respect.
No,
So, you know, without that, and no plans of what that excess tax dollars, what these excess tax dollars will be used for, it's just collecting it and putting more in the bank account. It's not collecting it and distributing it out in the community and, building a new park or paving more roads.
Community center.
It's none of that, it's none of that, so, and for the same with the fire services, there's no specific fire services project, that they need this increase for, it's just, again, putting more taxpayer dollars, taking more taxpayer dollars, confiscating more taxpayer dollars, and putting it in township bank accounts to sit there and basically do nothing but collect a pathetic rate of return.
okay, so with that, for the audience members, that if the sunshine law says that whenever there's a motion, before we can call the roll call, we have to open it up to the public. So, but that doesn't mean that there can't be other motions, because we don't know if the motion's gonna pass or fail. So, anybody in the audience would like to speak to this agenda item? Come to the podium, please.
John Holside, 2085 Johnston Avenue. We're supposed to be polite, but what I don't understand is that we're having a fit about this budget. The majority of the council that's up there right now didn't drum up this money this year. Why didn't this all get changed 2 or 3 years ago? Now all of a sudden, because the tides have turned on the council, that now is a problem and an issue and a big deal.
I'll answer that question if you want to answer.
Sure, go ahead, I'm listening, it's my 4 minutes or
Can you
5
address the
minutes.
chair, please?
You asked a question. Okay, well, do me answer or not?
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
going to
you need
answer,
to
sir,
ask
I'm
me
sorry.
first.
Priscilla, may I answer this gentleman's question?
Absolutely.
Thank you for the permission to answer this gentleman's question. So the answer to the question is, last year, this council approved the rezoning and the expansion of the landfill, which is projected to bring in $72 million over 18 years. Okay, so the funds that were there in reserves before, presumably by those who initially captured those funds before I was on council, started capturing those funds, did so with anticipation that the landfill funds would no longer be coming in. Well, that has been approved by this council. So there's financial certainty for the township moving forward, so that's the reason why. In my mind, I can't speak for other members of the council as to why they may vote, but in my mind, there's financial security for the township. And because of that, the residents should benefit from the financial security.
But not all the residents live by the dump. Oh, that's right, we shouldn't have bought our house then. See, 26 years ago, when I bought my house, the dump was closing in 5 years. Now.
That's what Priscilla told you, that's what Priscilla told you, you're right.
No, it wasn't
I was
Priscilla.
on council, I was on council.
One at a time.
It wasn't Priscilla that told me.
I didn't
It was a
tell you.
whole other
Tom,
board
you're
that
not
was there.
recognized.
And I just don't understand, now all of a sudden it's a big deal. Now, I understand that now the township is, financially fit and can spend money every way they want, okay? But, this should have been, if the dump was passed back then it should have been changed right then and there.
I wasn't on council back then, sir.
John,
Yes,
could
you
you
were.
say who told you about the landfill closing in 5 years?
That was 26 years ago, Priscilla. I don't remember when, but the
I can tell
council
you.
that was up there, the sad part is that council stood up there and the chairperson said, we're not taking any more comments on this issue, we're going to vote.
That was Priscilla.
It was not Priscilla.
She was on council 20.
She was on council, but she was not the chairperson that was running the show, okay? There was some young man that was on council, and when the head council guy said, we're not taking any more of this, on this issue, we're gonna take a vote. The lawyer from the dump stood up and said, we promise we'll never touch that 23 acres of sensitive area.
Was it?
Okay? And what happened was, the young man that was on council, that was enough to sway his vote. And guess what? The dump didn't take that 23 acres of sensitive area. They sold the dump, and the next guys ran it right in the ground.
Now, Mr. Willard's still a young man, but was it Mr. Miller?
I don't remember if it was
Dave.
Mr. Miller or not. I don't remember who was on council. Like I said, I was just bought my house in Steel City. We were all excited. It's a great neighborhood. 4 days this week, all I smell is trash coming over the mountain. But we don't smell nothing. So, thank you for your time. I have extra time if anybody else would want my time. I did it under 3 minutes.
Is anybody, okay.
Russ Sutton, 2133 Saucon Avenue. So basically, you're telling me you're relying on the dump for your income. Look at my hand. It's 5 fingers of my hand. There's 5 lawsuits against the dump. Would you put your money on the dump with 5 lawsuits present? I mean, that's what you're basing all your facts on, this budget is on the damn dump. And that's the problem. If the dump goes away, the goose that laid the golden egg, you're screwed, because you don't have income. And the point is, you have the income. I mean, I don't know how you balance your budgets at home, but if you don't have any excess money to cover emergencies, you're screwed. All you have to need is a catastrophe, and you have a problem. And we have major weather events. We can have anything happen at any point. So having that money as a cushion is a good thing, not a bad thing. So I don't see anybody else complaining about paying their fair share of taxes. I don't. And for fire equipment, I'm all for it. So that's what I have to say. And also, what I have to say, when they were talking about the cell tower,
We can't talk about this.
but basically, putting all the money in a goose is laid a golden egg, didn't lay a golden egg, it's laying a toxic egg, which is gonna destroy our whole environment and the whole area. And people are stupid if they can't see that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
May I identify this? Kathy, about this? Kathy, this proposed budget that's attached to the council packet, does that reflect any source of revenue from the landfill?
Yes, under under sanitation, 01364,600, host municipal fees, 2,300,000.
So you're telling me that the proposed budget that has been put together here, not by me, I had nothing to do with this, I don't know who put this together, but they're actually,
Always been in there, that 2,300,000.
right, but who put in this version here, this is what's before us, this updated version, I didn't put together this version that's being advocated for passage by this council. It includes how much of landfill money?
We're projecting next year to be 2.3 million.
So the folks that are proposing this are anti-landfill, but they're more than happy to take that revenue from the landfill and include it in this budget. Is that what you're telling me?
It's always been in the budget.
Is that what you're, is that fair? Is that a fair statement?
I can say that $2.3 million is in the budget and has been in the budget.
So, but the proposed budget, I'm not done.
Whether
I'm not
somebody's
done.
advocating for it or
The
not.
proposed budget that they're submitting here does not sequester that money, doesn't put it into a separate account, doesn't do anything with it. They're more than happy to take that dirty landfill money for this budget. Is that correct?
We consider revenue.
It's revenue, right. But they consider it to be something that's taboo. And it's gonna be included in this proposed budget. Okay,
Yes.
as long as we confirm.
And I'd just like to make a comment that, the landfill's life is another 4 to 5 years, so of course the money's gonna go in there. So,
Why, of course, put it somewhere else, hide it.
Now,
excuse me.
can I be recognized? I have a
I was
question.
just
Yeah.
recognized.
No, we have a resident speaking at the moment.
Can I be recognized after her?
My name is Monica Willard. I want to say once again that the budget is starting with what was proposed by the council before at the 5, whatever it was, mills. And that was fine for everyone in October. There is no tax cut, there's no tax raising, if that's what we were starting with proposed budgets. And to be arguing and to be so disrespectful, it's just really hard when you really want a good government, and we have had it, and we do know what it's like, and we are so blessed to have the kind of backup money. We are able to do what we need to do, but at last month's meeting, we talked about the fact that we've ordered a fire truck that doesn't fit into the place that it was ordered for. And there is an issue that we need to plan for future things that are adequate. And I think that when we can take over $3 million for a ball field and argue about what's going on and how much money things are happening in this district, it's time we look and really spend our money and plan for the future in a way that people both understand, want, and it is productive. We have a fabulous community, and we have the opportunity to make it better. So let's stop the horrid atmosphere, and let us look at the numbers. Go back to October. That was the one that people agreed on, and new people are working from an old budget. Don't start slashing things and make it look like it's some savior, because it isn't. It's irresponsible.
Thank you. Recognized.
Thank you. So 2.3 million is budgeted for the landfill this year. How much came in last year?
2,467
Okay.
was projected, yeah.
So, okay, that came in last year.
Yeah.
And then, under the new host municipal inspection agreement, what would that be, $4 or $5 million a year?
Once that comes into play, which I'm speculating at the end of this.
Okay. All right, so plenty of money there. Thank you.
Okay, sir, your name for the record?
Robert Blasco, 2510 Remington Road. At the last meeting, the Southeast Fire Chief, and I believe it was the president, was here. They mentioned that they were gonna need a new building, that it was impossible to get a tanker, which is what they need to get, to fit into the old building, so they need a new building. At that point, Jason Bononis called it a toy. They said they needed that money, Mr. Bononis, and yes, you were here, that was before you walked out. The landfill money is there by your vote. That's it, leave again.
Someone's gonna mention, you could join me if you want.
No, I'll wait for you to come back, I've got time.
When everybody else went. Might as well wait till he comes back. 'cause he won't hear
Sure,
anything.
stop the clock.
No, I don't think we should do that.
No,
I'm
okay.
sorry, Bob, there's gonna be another
They did do
opportunity.
enough clowning around with their shenanigans earlier. If they wouldn't have done that, they wouldn't have needed to ask for the extra 25 minutes, which they put on top of yours. That was pure chicanery, pure.
We can see through it, we can see through it.
And the landfill money is there by Carochi and Bononis and Inglis by their vote. And that money will be going away most likely, and we do need a reserve. So this tax rate is the same rate that it's been for 3 years previous. I also found it interesting, and I don't even know who was on council at the time, but I did notice a footnote in the budget minutes that the last time that the tax rate was lowered was in a tax year.
Yeah, whatever year's the tax year. That's how we get $10 million.
Excuse me, election year.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, next.
Mark Ozemek, I'm here, still this side of the third, yippee. Okay, Mr. Bononis, so you want to give everybody's money back, and you want to reduce to whatever the millage rate was down to 0. Next week, we have an explosion, and it takes out this building, takes out the entire block and a couple
Is
houses
that a threat,
across the
sir?
street.
Are you threatening us?
Oh, my.
You want to start with me?
That is out of order, Jason, that's really low.
Any fucking time you're ready!
Mark.
What's the matter with you? I just gave you a situation for every person that works in the township.
Mark, please settle down, okay? You have to understand who he is, so.
I know who he is.
Well, we know that, so please, you have an opportunity here.
I want an explanation to my question.
Well,
I want an answer to my question. When there's a catastrophe and this building is taken out and the house is across the street, or there's a half a dozen dead cops in the police force, what are you gonna do and where are you gonna come up with the money once you gave it all away?
Insurance.
okay, that's a
Insurance.
scenario.
Insurance.
Mark, okay. He's not gonna answer the question, we're not gonna answer that question.
Insurance.
So,
Oh, is that how you think about
We
it?
have insurance on this building, correct, Kathy? We have insurance on this building.
That's okay, it's just a point.
okay.
I say you keep the money. I say you keep the tax base where it is. My taxes ain't going up. Nobody else's taxes are going up. And you invest wisely with the money you have. And then when Southeastern gets their fire truck, or Southwestern, whatever it is over there, when they get their fire truck and it doesn't fit, then you can have the funds available for them to fix the building that needs to be fixed.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else, because it's getting late and we have to move on. It's almost 10 o'clock. And we still have a lot of agenda items to go because we had an extension on the cell tower.
Sonia Miller, 2116
16 Saucon Avenue. If I recall, it might have been the last two meetings, that we did not have enough money to pay for the fire truck.
Not completely,
Not
100%.
What, if you have the money, why can you not pay for it? Once it was ordered, now we need a new building. Another thing is, I don't know if I can say it, the the baseball field. The baseball field, you cannot use for girls. There is a different type of baseball field for girls
Okay,
for
you're talking
softball,
about, because we're not talking about the
Okay.
baseball field.
All right,
The money
the
for the
money.
baseball field, right,
which is what Mark said. If something happens, if we have a flood,
right.
who is going to fix the roads? And you have insurance, who pays for the insurance? We do.
We paid premiums, correct, Kathy?
It doesn't matter, it still comes from
Still comes
our
from the
taxes.
taxpayer.
So don't think about insurance all the time.
Okay.
Oh, insurance. I can see where your money goes. How you,
Okay, anyone else, because we need to move on, so I'm gonna cut off comments right now. We forgot, okay, please. One more person.
as always.
I apologize.
Sir, please address the chair.
I didn't say anything yet.
I know, but you're not facing the right direction.
Oh, that's not unusual for me. I get a little confused at these council meetings.
You only have
I know, me too.
5 minutes? Okay, all right, 5 minutes. Well, let's see here. I started off by going through past tax rates for Lower Saucon. Nice slide. Incorrect though, if you read the report called Resolution 76-220, it was signed by Sandy Yeager, okay, Leslie Hunt. And it says here that the rate of general purpose is 439, and look at my chart, and what do I see? 539. You see that for 220, Laura Ray?
Is
No.
there a 1 for fire tax on that year, whichever year?
You know,
you're
there is, and it's 0.75. You got that right. So my question is, how do I believe any of these numbers?
Can we pull
Now,
up the,
that's
can we
not
pull
your
up the
question,
slides
it's
that
my
show-
time.
Is he being recognized?
Do I get the time or
Yes,
don't
yes,
I?
Laurie, it's his time to talk.
And I'm not gonna swear, and I'm not gonna threaten a life, and I'm not gonna come up here and say, like the last meeting, I'm gonna punch Bononis or Caroci in the face. Really?
All right, come on, let's
No,
stick
it's
to the
not
facts.
really, come on, it's civility.
Just stick to the facts, okay?
I think this is a fact.
Okay, then.
And if you wanna deny it, go ahead.
I'm not
But you
denying it.
can't believe numbers, if you can't believe that in big letters, then you can't believe the rest of them.
If there's an error in that report, it will be fixed.
Oh, that's wonderful, but you're gonna make a decision on it, and you're doing it in front of all of these people, and I also see that where the numbers jumped up, where after somebody, back in 2019, who, was, I think, maybe the head of the council, all right? It went from 639, and then actually, when you do the correct action, numbers for 220, with the 439 that Yeager reports in the packet, yeah, I read my packets, not like some of you. And the bottom lines, it goes from 639 in 2019 to 514. Wow, gee, isn't that amazing? Change of council people, and the money rate goes down, not up, down, okay? And yes, I'm a taxpayer, and darn it, I don't like to write out these huge checks for what? Now, let's talk about the fire company thing. Yes, I have 2 minutes left, thank you. 2 minutes left, and they just show up out of nowhere. I don't see them on the agenda. I'm not prepared to understand what they're saying, because every meeting I've been to for the last 4 or 5 years, they're
Is this
having.
about the budget, the motion that we have, or is this about a non-agenda item?
About the fire tax.
We're talking about the fire tax?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I gotta take my time out to say what's on the agenda. That's really terrible. Yeah, here it is here. Yep, it's on the taxes. Yep, thank you. You just took up my time and took the wind out of my sails, but that's okay. So I'm not gonna punch anybody in the face or give you the facts, okay? And ask you to be correct when you
Great.
put numbers out that you guys vote on, the new ones. And yes, one last thing, we can't talk on the, no,
We're
we
only
can't
here
talk
to
on the.
talk about the motion that's on the floor right now.
One other thing is the EAC. Now,
No, no,
is that not on there?
it's not in this motion.
Is that, are we not appointing a new EAC
That's
chairman?
not, that's later on in the agenda.
Oh, when can I talk about it?
When it's the agenda item for the EAC, this is on the budget,
Oh,
so we're only talking
Okay.
budget.
oh, you're not doing a very good job, I'm sorry.
That's your opinion,
Yes,
I'm
it is my
sorry.
opinion, and I'm a taxpayer, and I pay
Absolutely,
taxes.
so am I.
And you know what, I prepare for this council meeting, and I read my packets, and these people that were up here presenting stuff, and everybody's going, well, where'd you get this, where'd you get, you know what, I already know where it was, because I looked at it in the last meeting. I'd ask the council to do that. And that goes for the new attorney, I know you're new to us, but really, you gotta, these people, these other people are sharp.
And I do have to say that tonight we were presented with, a revision.
Oh, I'm so sorry, and you
This
get
isn't in the-
$5,000 or $10,000?
This
Guess
wasn't
what?
on the agenda.
Excuse me, I have the floor, I actually thought so.
I was
And
trying
you
to
know
have a
what?
conversation.
I'd love to see that, and I thank this guy over here, Mark Hudson, for posting all of this stuff on the web. Although I've been told by certain people, we don't have to do that, so if it disappears, it wouldn't surprise me. That way you don't get the residents to ask real questions that are equitable.
And just for your education, that I'm the one that started the website, and I'm the one that voted to do that.
Good.
And yes, and that was years ago, and we developed it into a way to inform the residents for meetings, so,
Good.
okay.
So are you telling me now that you've opened that up, we can have that packet on the web? Thank you, I appreciate that, because the next time it comes around to discussing that, I will already seen it. Yeah, I take a day or two
Okay.
off, I'm sorry, you stole my time.
Okay.
You guys, some of you guys don't look at it at all, I say guys, people don't look at it all. It's clear who does and who doesn't. And I would say to you, you get paid for it, I pay your taxes to look at it, and I'd really appreciate it. What page is that on? What is that? Please, let's not have any more of that, okay?
Thank you for your comments.
Oh, you're welcome, thank you. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, now we're closing public comment, and there's a motion on the floor, and would somebody repeat it, please?
We have a motion on the floor to keep the fire tax at 0.75 mils and lower the general fund tax to 0 mils. Is that stated correctly?
Jason, was that your motion?
There was no motion.
Okay.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Manonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Abdel-Kader, how do you vote?
No, and I just want to indicate, I think according to our second-class township code and option rule, we're legally unable to do that. That would reduce things above the 25% or increase moving things above the 25%. And I remember that was a really big issue before, so I just want to point that out as another legal issue.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ray, how do you vote?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, so motion fails, so I'd like to make another a motion to approve the advertisement of the 2024 amended proposed budget for the 10-day public review period at the rates that we discussed. And
Second.
you just, that the total millage at 5.14.
General fund, millage at 4.24 and the fire millage at 0.9.
Okay, so that's my motion, and is there a second?
Second.
And again, I'm gonna have limited opportunity for comment, so if anybody wants to comment, please, it's 10 o'clock, it's getting late, we still have a whole bunch of other items to talk about. Is there anyone out in the audience, you wanna speak again, go right ahead.
Oh, I sure do.
Okay.
All right, so what I'm gonna say is, I'm wondering where all of this money now that you're going to save and keep is going. All right? And I am absolutely flabbergasted that we're having a budget meeting and the fire company shows up and says, gee, we want this wonderful fire truck, and you know what? The other day, after we got the fire truck through the council, we found out, gee, it's not gonna fit in the building. Wow, can we have some more money? Is that the way you guys are gonna operate here? I mean, you've all been involved with the fire company here. They've been really above board. I don't care whether it's Scott Pax or what. Right up the front, and out of the blue, they show up at the meeting and say, hey, we don't have a building to put it in. Gee, that's really, did they come on their own or were they asked to come? I really find, I'm absolutely flabbergasted, all right? So that's my opinion. And yes, I don't like the way the numbers are going down. If this is the best we can do, how do I know a lot of other things aren't wrong? And yes, I'm Dave Boulan. I don't have the time that Kathy has to put in and all of the council members together, and you guys can't even get that straight. I find that's hard. Maybe the rest of these people back here who don't want certain things, agree that it's really easy to do, but our guys can't do it, and they get 10 o'clock at night.
Okay, thank you.
People are
Okay.
Thank
We
you.
didn't vote yet.
Oh.
Anybody else? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Can I just be recognized?
Oh, absolutely.
I wanna indicate to the public, my position on this. I think it's important for everybody to understand, just because we've had a lot of questions gone around in circles. I thought it was very imperative that we follow through with the budget that was proposed in October, specifically because we had a lot of expenditures that may be extraordinary for this coming year, but they are very important expenditures that include the ball field at over $3 million. We also had a situation that I do recall years ago, and I'll say it again, that the budget season was specifically moved to prior to Election Day, so that the public would have a clear understanding of our millage and clear understanding the direction of our budget vis-a-vis our millage or what we were paying in taxes before they went and voted for whoever they wanted to vote for. I appreciate the desire of some of our council people to lower the millage and to, as somebody said, rely everything that we do on landfill future income, which I would argue is very speculative. But at the end of the day, the two that have indicated that that's their desire are also the two that didn't make that zero millage proposal in 2019, in 2020, in 2021, in 2022, or in 2023. I think the bottom line for everybody here tonight is that in 2021, you paid a total millage of 5.14. In 2022, you paid a total millage of 5.14. In 2023, you paid a total millage of 5.14. And guess what? In 2024, if this motion passes, you will pay a total millage of 5.14. So when I look at those last 3 years of history and then add this year of history, I don't see any reduction, I don't see any increase. I see something that's responsible given the expenditures that we have and the need to make sure that we account for disasters or any other events that may impact the revenue stream coming forward to us. And yes, I will say that I have no problem with the fact that we do keep a reserve because that's responsible. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I'd like to be recognized on this motion. I've not been recognized on this motion yet. This new motion.
Go ahead, Tom.
Victoria, I understand what you're saying, and to a certain extent that's right, but you're not, this is not the proposed budget that voters went to. You're raising the fire tax from 0.75 to 0.9, so it is not the budget. You're raising a tax after election day. So it's not the same budget. You're wrong about that, and that was a complete misstatement. I understand your point on the other tax, and that's fine, I can live with that. But you are raising the tax here, you're raising the fire tax from 0.7 to 5.9. So you're not, it's not the same tax rate, it's just not. Now, if you wanna take that away and and keep the millage the same, I'm fine with that, because you're right, that is what people saw in October, and I'm fine with that October. But not with this increase, I'm not.
May I be addressed?
Sure, one more time and then we're calling for a vote.
Well, I haven't spoken on this motion, so I'm gonna speak to it, okay? So, to correct another misstatement, there's some suggestion or insinuation that this is the budget that's always been out there and that nothing has changed since then until now. And the significant change that had occurred since the proposed budget that was not approved by council, was a proposed budget at the time, is that the landfill received approvals for its land development plan. So that, and the landfill also received approvals for its rezoning, and the landfill also, the township also agreed to execute the new post-municipal agreement. So that's the circumstance that changed. So to suggest that we're somehow on the same playing field that we were when that proposed budget came out is a complete fabrication. It's just not true. The circumstances have changed considerably, and that changes $72 million of revenue projected to come into the township over 18 years. That was not there before. So there's criticisms of prior council. Then why did prior council do this? Why didn't they do that? Well, I wasn't on every prior council going back for 36 years. I've only been on council now for 4 years. And there were funding needs that we had, and we addressed them. But the circumstances are different. And that's the reason why I feel the way I do. I think the majority of people would feel the same way. Why would you continue to take people's money? You know, you're gonna continue to take people's money, but you're gonna have $2 million more coming in projected revenue annually. It just makes no sense.
Okay, Laura, did you have anything?
Well, I would just state what others have said, though. The land development plan that was approved for the landfill is not a done deal. There's all the lawsuits out there, so you don't know what's gonna happen with them. So that landfill income that you're counting on might not happen. So we don't wanna be caught with nothing in reserve and then that doesn't happen.
Right.
And as far as in the meantime, I mean, that's not gonna happen anytime quickly anyway with the whole process of between the legal cases and DEP, it doesn't happen quickly. I don't think anybody would recommend taking your reserves down to 3 months worth of your expenses. Even for a normal household budget, your financial planner would never recommend that. You should have at least a year's worth because you don't know what could happen. As was mentioned, any kind of disaster. I mean, a tornado comes through and takes out who knows what. All of our firehouses and their equipment, the town hall, who knows, anything. And you can't count on insurance doesn't cover everything, you know that. Everybody knows that. So it's just not wise planning. And it certainly isn't illegal to have reserve funds. So
Okay,
that's all I'll
so-
say.
With that, can we have a roll call, please?
All right, so it's a motion to approve the budget as presented, to advertise it for the 10 days.
Correct.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
No.
Ms. Altaf Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
No.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, everybody, it's almost 10:15. It's very late, so we're gonna try to roll through this agenda. Next, we have Resolution 32-2024, fixing the general purpose tax levy for 2024. We have, it's been in our packet, the resolution has been prepared, fixing it at the 4.24 mils and the fire tax at 0.90 mils, which we just approved. So, I need a motion for Resolution 32-2024.
Is this to enact?
I make a motion.
Is this to enact?
I'll second.
Is this to enact the?
We always do this. This follows through the
I know we do, but I'm a resolution to fix the tax, and it's tied in with the budget, which has not been approved. The budget has simply been approved for advertising for 10 days.
Yeah, isn't this premature? Mr. Solicitor, can you weigh in on that?
The way the second-class township code and the ordinances are written is only the budget needs to be shown for 10 days. Tax can be passed, and I understand that there are certain logistical issues that staff has with not doing it now and paying the tax bills.
Well, how can you fix a tax and have the tax in the budget when the budget's not approved?
You can fix a tax. You can pass
Well, how? I mean, how, what if the budget, the amended budget with those tax rates is not approved?
My understanding, and maybe staff can speak to this, is that it's problematic not to have, to wait longer because of the bills that need to go out. Or be prepared to go out if the budget passes.
If it's legal, I'm good with it.
Well, we don't know. That's what I'm asking our solicitor. He doesn't be able to tell. He deferred to staff.
No, I heard him say it was legal.
He deferred to staff.
No, I did
He's the
not.
attorney. That's
No, I
what
did
he's
not.
saying.
No, I did not. Thank goodness this is taped. Thank goodness.
Okay, sunshine law says I have to open it up to the public. Does anybody?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm sorry, my name is Dave Luan, I know it's supposed to, and I'll address Priscilla, okay? And by the way, I noticed the back and forth between certain people on the council and certain people in the audience, okay? But I've been berated for that, so.
I know most of these people in here.
So do I. And I know a few of them in the council too. The bottom rate is, right, I can't help but say thank you for people that ask solid questions, okay? Whether it's council members asking other council members, or whether it's an attorney sitting here representing a client and asking a good, solid question. The thing that I find unbelievable again is that some of these people that are sitting on this council now don't read what's in their packets.
Are you referring to the resolution? That's what's on
Yeah.
your comment. Well, I don't hear you talking about the.
Well, we're not sure whether it's legal or not legal, and the people, whatever.
Should I read
You know?
from your, I can read from the second-class township
Right,
code, I
right.
can read from your ordinance.
Good, how about pulling it from your knowledge in your head so we know when she asks?
I answered the question, I'll now read
Okay.
from the ordinance if you want me
Yeah, sure,
to. Okay, so during the month of January,
yeah,
now,
yes,
next following any municipal elections, right?
yeah,
Okay,
I got
the
that.
council may amend the budget and the levy and the tax rate to conform with its amended budget,
Mhm,
okay?
yeah,
This month.
okay, so you're gonna amend it, but if you don't have the budget, I just set the levy, that was the
It's
question.
based on the proposed budget.
The budget's not amended. We voted to advertise. We didn't vote on the budget. We voted to advertise the budget.
Hey, I'm not a lawyer, but you know, there's some things that just don't make sense, like that view graph when you look at it.
I want
Thank you
to
very
correct
much, Priscilla, I'll address you.
We did
My
not
question's
authorize an
been answered,
amended budget. We
okay?
authorized to
Will you
advertise. the
please
budget.
be quiet?
We authorized to advertise. the budget.
All right,
We did not
so
authorize the budget.
let's do it. Mr. Manager, is it gonna create problems for you to wait until the 10 days to pass the tax levy if the budget passes?
The tax group that we use needs the tax levy so that they can start preparing the tax bills to send out.
Sitting on $9.5 million, it's not like we can't pay our
Who
bills.
told you that, Mark? And where's that documentation?
Keystone.
Keystone, it's a phone call.
A phone call?
Yes.
When did that phone call happen? What day?
Yeah, you mean to say I'm getting taxed on something that's not even been approved?
When did that phone call occur?
I spoke with the vice president of governmental services at Keystone Collections Group, and I advised her of what had transpired at the meeting where reorganization I wasn't sure, and I told her there was a probability that our answer until council made a decision as to whether or not what they were going to do. And she said, please get that information to me as soon as possible. All the billings go out in the beginning of February. That's traditionally how it happens. So she had said typically they needed 30 days. She's basically said, please get it to me as soon as you can.
So there was a council meeting on, what, January 2nd? There was a council meeting on January 7th, so there's two, right?
Correct.
We could have authorized to advertise the budget at those meetings, right?
We didn't have the budget,
We
then.
didn't.
Why not?
We were given our direction at the January 11th.
No, it was the January 7th meeting.
No, it was
11th.
January 11th.
Okay,
You weren't
11th.
At the
here.
January 11th meeting, we were given our direction on how to prepare the budget, which we're talking about tonight.
That could have happened on January 2nd, though, and it didn't, right?
No.
Why
We
couldn't it?
voted to reopen the budget on that date.
Why couldn't it happen that day?
You weren't there.
Yeah, but why couldn't it have happened? You had a form of
Respectfully, Tom,
council.
we can't
All right,
open the
so I
budget
guess the
and
question
then,
is,
You can advertise it.
you can't, cause then how are
If-
you
if we
going to,
wait
how are
to-
you going to present what you wanna do in the public, in a sunshine situation?
Yeah, I
We
don't
open the
understand.
budget on the 2nd, how would we then possibly go through the entire budget and make the decisions that night? That's impossible.
Again, nobody is explaining to me how we can fix a tax rate when all we did was authorize the advertisement of a budget. We didn't amend a budget. We don't have a budget. We're authorizing the advertisement of a budget, yet we're setting the tax rates under those budgets. I don't understand
Okay.
how that's possible. And the explanation written by, read by the solicitor talks about, that council has the right to reopen the budget, which is true.
Okay,
They have the right to reopen the budget.
I'm gonna ask
but they don't-
Tim,
they
stop, talking about this for right now, and we're gonna take this off the agenda and put it on the next agenda, or the agenda that we have,
Thank you.
what date did we say we're doing the,
It'll be February 7th.
February 7th agenda? So
You
we're
taking it
just
off by
gonna,
motion, or you just taking it off because you're the president of council, you set the agenda?
I'll make a motion to take it off by tabling it. That's my motion, to table it to, February 7th. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and again, we have, I'm sorry.
No,
we're
that's
taking this
fine.
off.
I'd rather you get it right and then absolutely have the fiasco we had earlier in the evening.
Okay, so now, again, I have to, because of sunshine law, open it back up to the audience. Does anybody else did you want to say anything else?
I'm absolutely so dumbfounded. I don't know how anybody can say anything after this evening. But you're working on it. I know you'll get it, but get it right. You have a lawyer, a new lawyer with you, other people. I didn't even get a chance to talk about the disaster in the EAC, so
We're gonna
just
get
a lot of
there.
weight on that one.
Okay, so, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Altough Cordera,
Yes.
Mr. Croce,
This is to table it? Yes.
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 Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon,
Yes,
Mr. Benonis.
Yes.
Motion passes.
5-0, that's a record. Okay, next we have, Eastern Road Ball Field payment number 2. The township has received a second payment request from CH&N Site Construction for the Easton Road Ball Field project. The payment request has been reviewed by Hanover Engineering, and they are recommending payment in the amount of $60,308.76. And, Mark, did you want to say anything? Okay, I'll make a motion to move to approve payment number 2 for the Easton Ball Field project in the amount of $60,308.76. We don't really want to do this, but we're by contract to do this. So that's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Brian, is, all the work, can I be recognized to ask Brian to weigh in about the work being done there and how it's progressing?
Yes, it's progressing according to their schedule, and this payment application reflects the work they've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there any public comment? Okay, moving, wait, did we do a roll call? Yeah.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ray, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Altough Cordero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on, resolution 33-2024, terminating committees. Council has in their packet a resolution dissolving the temporary fire service capital plan subcommittee, open space committee, committee to review library services for the township, and resolution is in the Word docs. So with that, I move to approve resolution 33-2024, terminating the temporary fire services capital plan subcommittee, open space committee, and the committee to review library services in the township. Would there be a second?
May I be
I
recognized?
second.
May I be recognized?
In a second. So that was Priscilla and Victoria, and yes, you may, Jason.
So I'm not understanding, there's been no explanation provided whatsoever for eliminating these committees, particularly the temporary fire services capital planning subcommittee. You know, I mentioned earlier the report that was generated, and I don't think that that report concluded by saying our work is done. Tom, you were a participant in that subcommittee, and my understanding is that that subcommittee planned to remain intact and meet periodically to discuss the capital plan expenditures to bring to fruition the ideas and recommendations that were coming from that report. Is that correct, Tom?
That's correct.
So,
Okay, well, I asked to have this put on the agenda, Mark put it on and did the resolutions, and these committees no longer exist. I was just gonna see if
Well, they do
I had,
exist.
no, majority of council changed in January, and I wanted to see if there was support to continue these committees.
so I just want to be clear, you put on the agenda that you want to eliminate and disband the subcommittee that was, give me 1 second.
There's 3 of them.
I'm talking about the Fire Services Committee that had talked about selling the Seawyco station, selling the Lightsville station, selling the land around the southeastern station, donating the Steel City facilities to the township, using the proceeds from the sales to fund the construction of the new substations, building a new main station here at Cook Valley Park, building a new substation at Town Hall Complex, planning for a new substation at Southeastern, continuing to utilize the Steel City 2-bay substation, constructing a new main station, and on and on and on. So you who want to raise fire services taxes don't want to hear from this committee. They came up with all these great ideas to provide for public safety in the community. Is that correct?
I will say to that is that we have new liaisons to the fire services committee, and they're working with the fire company, and they will come up with a plan and present it to council. So
Now,
that's what we're doing.
can I be recognized? So there, will those meetings be public?
I'm sorry?
Will the fire services meeting be public? Public meeting?
I'm not sure. Are they public meetings?
Depends who's on. If it's a non-quorum.
Hold on, it depends on who's on them. They appointed the members
Sir, can I-
on January 2nd.
You want me to answer the
You
question
know
or
who's
not?
on, but you know who's
Tom,
on.
you're
Do you know
out
the
of
sunshine
order.
law? Do you know the sunshine law?
You don't either.
You're out of order, Tom. Okay? Really.
Okay,
This
so,
is getting late.
But
and-
it is. But listen, his answer was.
I didn't get it. I didn't say an answer. I didn't say an answer. I didn't even finish it. I didn't even finish the sentence, sir. I didn't even finish the sentence. I cannot be asked an answer
You are
and not be
out-
allowed to finish my sentence. It's inappropriate.
You're out of order, Tom. You ask a question.
I was the only one recognized.
You're out of order.
You recognized me.
And you asked a question, and you didn't give the person a chance to answer it. You know,
Let him answer, let him answer.
this is not a courtroom, okay?
I didn't say it
You're
was.
Clearly
misbehaving
it's not.
very
I
badly.
didn't say it was.
I'm sorry.
So did
Are you not listening to me?
I asked a question.
And we're gonna answer that question if you just be quiet.
Okay.
Gosh,
Who's
I was brought up much better than that.
Who's on the committee?
Right.
Who's on the committee?
And
Victoria?
How am I supposed to know if it meets sunshine if I don't know who's on the committee?
You were here when it was said.
You were here on January 2nd when they said it.
Who's on the committee?
We didn't actually form a new committee at this
The
point.
Fire Service Committee has Laura and it has Victoria on it. You were here for that, and that's what Priscilla represented, that is the committee that's going to be dealing.
Then it's a non-quorum of it, and who else?
Okay, let me back up. January 2nd, we approved appointed liaisons to a fire service.
A liaison
committee.
is not a member of the committee.
And the fire company,
Okay, so when you, sir, Tom, Jake, when you figure out who's on the committee, I'll answer your question.
The committee was set on January 2nd,
No,
when
she
you were
told
here.
me who the liaison is.
She told
You
you.
know the
Not
difference?
formed a
So,
new committee
Can we
yet.
start with the municipal law 101, the difference between a liaison and a committee? Should we go through that?
Sure.
yeah, I think we need to.
Okay, a liaison is not a member of the committee.
Okay.
The committee is the one who votes. The liaison carries messages from the committee to whoever their liaison to. If it's council liaison, they carry messages.
So it's not subject to the right to know. And it's,
Depends.
I'm sorry, it's not subject to the Sunshine Act, is that what you're saying?
Okay,
Is that what you're saying? That's my statement.
they're tricky.
That's his question, his question
The
was, is it
question,
subject to the?
my
is it
question
subject
is
to
who's on
Sunshine?
the committee?
Right, and that question's been answered for you.
No.
I only was told that there's two liaisons.
Right, so, is it subject to the right to know?
Am I speaking English?
No, you're
No,
not.
we're not.
My question is, the question is it
You
subject?
know what? I've about had it now.
You can bang on.
Well, I know.
The question is it subject to sunshine law? It's a very straightforward question.
And I want an answer to my question. Who is on the committee?
Ask the president, she's the one who said.
You're asking me a question. I'm asking you, you want to know an answer.
We did
on
not
who's
form a
on the
committee yet.
Well, then I can't answer the question if you don't know who's on the
Okay,
committee.
okay.
We only have liaisons, that's all we did after our meeting.
Because we wanted,
Open
we
your
need
ears.
to do another committee.
No, it's really not.
It really is.
It's really not.
You know what? You know, emotions I don't understand, okay? I don't know, I don't recognize emotions.
That means speed.
I know what it means, and you're rude right now.
Can I be recognized?
And I really feel that this is very inappropriate. We're trying to have a good start in the year for decorum and everything, and people are not abiding. Look at Tom, he sets us up.
A good start for decorum. A good start for decorum. You removed us from all the committees, and, well, how was that a good start for decorum? You did that on January 2nd. How was that a good, and we used to have,
Solicitor without even telling him that
we
you
used to have,
removed.
and hold on, we used to
That's
have,
not
for
true.
20-some years, there used to be a rule, that two members of council could put an item on the agenda. Now, just Priscilla can put an item on the agenda. How is that good decorum starting the year? Again.
Okay, this is it. Discussion's over. We're, moving on. I don't even know where we are on the agenda. We've just approved the, for the lawsuit. Oh, okay, so we have a motion on the floor.
I can
and-
comment on that motion.
I'm sorry. We're not doing comments. It's 10:30 and we're moving on. Can I have a roll call, please?
You have the right to speak.
Sunshine.
Oh, my
Under
gosh.
the administrative code, you have the right to speak.
We've been speaking for how long?
We just spoke about fire services, though I have a comment about library service and the open space committee.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, library services, I don't know why we would get rid of a committee on that when, you know, we're still looking for a library card. I mean, so why wouldn't we have a committee on that? Now, if you wanna change the makeup of the committee, that's fine. You can make the makeup of the committee whatever you want, but to just do away with the committee, I don't see why. Why
Well,
would
Tom,
we?
maybe that decision's already been made, so maybe that's why.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand how that can be done, how decisions can be made under the sunshine law, and just getting rid of that committee. So,
Okay, so anybody else in the audience would like to speak on this?
If I may. Oh.
My name's Virginia Stangline, I live
Wanna
at
tilt the
36.
mic down, Virginia?
I live at 3659 on the Philadelphia Pike. Just my comment about this, I was interested in about the committees, I didn't know anything about it. It seems like all of you are not clear about what this is about. I suggest you table this one and get more information out to your group about what the committee situation is.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
Can so everybody understands, we have a fire services group that meets, that consists of fire services people from the fire company and has some liaisons from council. So there is a group meeting to review fire services, as there has always been for years and years and years and years and years. In 2023, the former council created a subcommittee consisting of two residents, fire services people from the fire company, and some council members and staff members. So they created a committee that had not previously existed, called a subcommittee of fire services. That committee proceeded to meet without any notice to the public and create the October fire services proposal that was presented, totaling $14 million for a new fire plan. It was a subcommittee. So what's happening here is that we are terminating that subcommittee because the report was presented and we already have a fire services group that meets. The subcommittee group was not meeting with open access to the public because it was a committee, and that's a problem. So that's the fire services committee from my perspective, the subcommittee that was created in 2023. Moving on to the library committee, that was also a committee that consisted of, I think, just council members and staff members, and that was to try and explore a digital library to somehow offer some library services to our residents, despite the fact that we had the Hellertown Area Library that we had always supported in the past, and had the strife over the library over the last couple years. That committee, because the solicitor at that time recognized that it was a sunshine violation to have any meetings without public notice, never met. So that committee is useless because number one, we don't have any virtual library. Number two, the Hellertown Area Library has a digital service that the residents were using prior to the library no longer being funded. And number three, we're now in 2024 and hopefully looking forward to reuniting our community. So that's the Library Services Committee, which didn't have any residents and was not operating in the historical sense that we had when we did have library services with Hellertown Area Library. The third committee that's referenced on here, which I think is the Open Space Committee, was again something that was proposed by our formal council because they did not like that open space was graded by our EAC, which again was something historically always done. So it was a committee that never actually finished being created. I don't think the former council finished appointing people. They were trying to get a member from Parks and Rec, a member from EAC, a member from I don't know where, and so that committee was also not functioning. So the purpose of this resolution, from my perspective, is to clean up what happened in 2023 with regard to these subcommittees and other committees that weren't operating and weren't even completed, and return us to some sense of normalcy where our EAC graded open space, where we dealt with library services as that we could, and where we dealt with fire services as we historically could. So I hope that that's instructive for all of you, and I'm ready to vote.
Okay, do we have a motion on the floor?
Yes.
Yes, there was a motion and a second, I
Does
thought.
the public get its chance?
I'm not done yet. You're interrupting.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any other council discussion?
Yeah, I have a question, Tom.
Sure.
In those meetings that you went to for that Fire Services Planning Committee, Subcommittee, was there ever a recommendation that came up that the group disband, that their work was done, that they come to council and suggest to council they're no longer needed?
No, in fact, I mean, there's plenty to be done. Most of the work is needing to be done. Like I said, I don't care if they have different fire services committee with different people on it, but to get rid of it, I don't understand. And then, again, the question was not answered, are these meetings going to be public? Now, I know there's the our legal counsel, no, hold on, but I'm asking the liaisons, I'm not asking you, Mr. Solicitor, I'm asking the liaisons, do you intend to, have those meetings be public or not? I'm not asking you a legal question, I'm asking the liaisons who were appointed on January 2nd. Do you intend for fire services meetings to be public? Do you expect, or any library services to be public? Or committee meetings to be public?
Well, first,
I would just note that in the agenda, Tom,
Did it-
look at the
of course.
agenda.
The library, there is no library committee to meet in public.
All right, but
There is
fire
no
service.
fire services committee to meet in public. That's your answer.
No, we appointed liaisons to fire services. I
There is
assume
no
we're gonna hold
committee,
meetings.
and that's the answer.
So if we're gonna hold meetings, are they gonna be public? I'm not asking legally whether they're public or not, because we couldn't get an answer on that, but I'm asking, do the liaisons, is it their intention for those meetings to be public?
Yes, they were.
I don't think they were. They were public? You never made an announcement that they were public?
Advertised, I don't know.
I don't know if they were advertised.
Ask the manager, sitting right there. Ask him.
Do you
I
remember?
do not think the fire services was public.
They were or they weren't?
I do not think they were.
No, they weren't. I never got
You guys were,
Neither did I.
okay,
I
now
know,
I'm really
that's,
confused by your questions.
that's why I was asked to, and I wanted to do this because these weren't meeting, so they needed to be taken off, and we moved forward with, you know, the open space committee, I never approved that, that was the EAC's job. So that, you know, I'm comfortable with taking that off. The fire services capital plan subcommittee, they're just starting now to meet with the fire company, and they may come up with another plan, so that's not needed. And the committee to review the library services, we're gonna be talking about that hopefully soon, and, the current committee we never even had a report on a council meeting. I'd asked every meeting, and we never had a report. So with that, I'll make a motion
Motion's already been made.
what was the motion?
You moved to approve resolution 33 and Victoria seconded
I
that.
guess I'm consistent, right? And if there's no other comments by council, anybody in the audience? Of course. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, that's disrespectful.
That is not, I'm saying, of course, go up there and speak.
No, I'll say this, talking about library services, I know in the past, it cost us $150,000 to be part of that organization. Now, we did find out in the previous year, when the town bought all the memberships that the members of the town wanted, it cost us $10,000. So there's $140,000, and we're gonna have some kind of little subcommittee to evaluate that. $140,000 is maybe a lot more now that we're out and trying to get back in maybe.
We're canceling these things.
I know, you're canceling everything, I got it. And we have now a disaster because the fire company ordered a truck, and we all understand how much it's needed. I absolutely agree, a lot of respect for these people. But the bottom line is, now somebody went out there with a tape measure and said, oh, it's not gonna fit. And somebody at this little podium last time around and said, well, that's fine, why don't we put it down in some other place? And the answer was, well, because all the logistics. Yes, you need a committee. Yes, you need to have sunshine laws when it meets so it can be heard. I don't care whether it's the landfill committee meeting or whatever. Make it legal, let the public know. If they don't wanna watch, great. But you guys, meaning the council, I'm sorry, you folks, how's that? really need to keep it open. And I know you have your disagreements, but that room back there is where you should take all this to before you get out to the public. No, you're shaking your head.
We're only allowed to meet back there for 4 reasons, and that this isn't one of them.
So let's see here, you do nothing else but just for private matters here and whatever?
Executive sessions for lawsuits, personnel matters, property acquisition, and there's another one.
Oh, good. Listen, I was on a planning board for 10 years in the town I came from. We met 3 times a week because it was growing. And I got out of work, went directly to the meeting at 6 o'clock, and usually got home at 11. I don't want to hear what time it is. There's too much money involved. There's too many things that can go wrong. And yes, somebody got up and said what a beautiful, wonderful town it is. It absolutely is. Great manager, yeah, great help all the way around. But this kind of dysfunctionality here that's going on is not a good thing.
Okay, I'd like to make 2 comments.
Yes.
As you know, I've been on this council for a long time.
40 years.
No, 36.
36.
36. Okay, and I'm telling you, in the beginning, we had stormwater problems up the kazoo, and there were many nights I was here till 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I know, and I was here doing it, and I don't
Absolutely.
mind doing it. It's just that the meetings need to be productive, okay?
Yes.
And that's what my striving for.
Good.
And the other thing is, in the fall, when the fire company came to ask, and you can have your time back, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But I wanted to clear something up. And in the fall, when the fire guys came to ask for the truck, and when we ordered this truck that was gonna take 4 years to come,
Yes.
they told us it did not fit in their garages. That was at a meeting, I heard it myself.
What, it
I
accounts,
don't know what meeting, but when they came
Oh.
and asked for the payment to order for us to pay and for the fire truck, they told us that none of their buildings could accommodate the height. They did say that at a meeting last year, 2023.
Madam President,
Yes.
I would request that when you make statements that really are important like that they said at that meeting that it didn't fit. And I don't mean the one that just happened last week when they were here and said it didn't fit. But I mean previously.
Right, but it would be very rude if I took my phone and looked for the minutes of the council meeting and
No,
sat here for
no.
10 minutes trying to find it.
Maybe
So
we
I
need
wouldn't do
to
that.
add another thing to your agenda item that says, gee, Mr. Boulam, I did look that up and here it is.
Okay, please address the chair.
Please disallow people like this person. Thank you. That's all. I don't expect
I
you to do it now.
don't mean to cut into your time, so you can go on.
That's, you know what? You wanna be here till 2 in the
No, I
morning?
don't.
I'm good. I don't mind. I'm not getting paid any money here. And I don't think he is, and I don't think he is. I know the rest of you are, but you know what? I care about this town. I don't show up here just because I have nothing better to do, believe me. But I've seen towns that go crazy, and I don't want that here.
Okay.
Okay?
Agreed.
So it'd be nice to have really good facts, really read documentation when you go out into the public, and that means across the lines. And no, I don't like to see the back and forth, disrespect. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no other comment, okay, Mark.
Ms. Ray, how do you vote?
No, Mark wants to speak. Sorry, wrong, too many Marks.
I apologize for my last outburst. Mark Ozemek. As far as the committees go, I think the committees were organized to suit the needs of the prior council, so that they would be aligned with their intents on what they wanted. Apparently, for all the council meetings that I had gone through, other than the fire one, I really didn't hear anything about what went on in the committees. So, if you do anything and you really need a committee in the future, abolish them today, get with some people, discuss it, and create a new one. that actually functions for the township, instead of just, somebody that wants a $44 million fire company placed in the middle of town and wants to sell off all the assets that you already own. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Ray, how do you vote?
Okay, I believe I'm voting yes, I would like to terminate the committees.
Correct. Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Well, I'm in favor of fire services, I'm in favor of open space, and I'm in favor of library services, so no.
Ms. Aptos-Cadero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
No.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we have, appointment of Environmental Advisory Council Chair. The EAC met, and they came up with a recommendation to approve Drew Germanowski for the chair for the 2024 year. And with that, I'll move to approve him as chair for the EAC.
May I be recognized?
Is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Was that, okay, so Priscilla and Laura. And yes, go ahead.
Tom, you're on EAC, you can probably speak more specifically to this. I remember attending an EAC meeting where Sandy Yerger was the chair of the EAC. And Sandy, by history, was the founder of the Open Space Committee.
Is that true?
And Sandy also was the first to donate lands into the open space program. She was a proponent of this, and the way that she was treated in that meeting by Drew Germanowski and others who were there was absolutely appalling to me. To disrespect somebody who had given so much to the community for so long is beyond the pale, and I find it, I'll say perplexing, or appalling that this is being proposed. That's all I have to say.
Okay, anybody else?
Recognized?
Sure.
Okay, first of all, Laura, who was the quorum at this meeting? You, Drew? Who else? I thought Alan Jackson couldn't make it. Did he make it?
Alan?
Alan, he sent an email saying he could not make it. Who was the quorum? Who were the
Me,
attendees?
Drew, Alan, Cheyenne,
Yeah,
and Jennifer.
Jennifer,
Helton.
was she appointed to the EAC?
Yes, she
Yes.
was.
Okay. Now, and Alan was there? Because Alan sent an email saying he couldn't make it.
We've had him on speaker,
Okay. She was our speaker, was Drew on speaker?
yes.
All right, I do agree with Jason, though, Drew just doesn't have the right temperament for the EAC, he's, the way he treated Sandy was despicable.
Drew was always very
So,
respectful.
So I disagree, I attended the meetings too, and I don't think he was
Well.
respectful towards Sandy at all, and, so, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, Sandy did not found the EAC. That was founded by a group of people. Glenn Kern, Ron Harizny, myself, Sandy, a lot of people worked together to start the EAC.
I said open space, did I say EAC?
You said she donated, was one of the first to donate to the open space program, which she was.
Founded the open space program,
Right.
that's what I said. I thought I said.
No, you did
Oh.
not say that.
Okay, then I stand corrected, I meant open space.
Okay. Okay, anybody else on council? Okay, anybody in the audience?
Drew's qualifications, he's probably the best person suited to run that committee. He has the qualifications, and he's very well known in the area, and I really think he deserves to be president. Because I was president during that, I was not a voting member, but I think he's the best one suited.
Thank you, I agree. Anyone else?
I'm Jennifer Helton, and I am on the EAC. I was at that meeting that Jason was at, as well as Tom and we voted to re-elect a different president. Sandy Ogre had done a great job, but it was time to make a change. We were not disrespectful to her. She was shocked, needless to say, because she loved the EAC and the open space. When Tom came on the committee and became the president at that time, denouncing who our bylaws had asked, it was very upsetting to everybody. Tom had made that environment very hostile, and I'm grateful for the change and look forward to having Drew as the president. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exhibit A.
Okay, anyone else out in the audience? Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
No.
Ms. Atascadero?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
No.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we have authorized 2024 EAC Virtual Network Conference registration. There's conference coming up, so I'd like to move to approve attendance at the Virtual EAC Network Conference on Saturday, February 24th by members of the EAC, $35 per person, $75 is a group rate for 5 members. And is there a timeline that I need to get back to the township?
Yeah, I think they've already been,
Okay, I was just finalizing.
registration deadline, 23rd of February.
Okay, so that's my motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so Priscilla and Laura, any council comments, questions in the floor, anybody in the audience? Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Atascadero?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we have Hellertown Borough Council Staff Liaison.
May I speak to that, please?
I ain't gonna open up the agenda item yet. We have a letter from Kathy Cartram. Good morning, Mark, and this was on January 3rd. As we move into 2024, Hellertown Borough Council at its reorganization meeting last evening formed a committee featuring Vice President Matt Marcinson, Mayor Dave Heitzelman, Council President Tom Rieger, and myself to initiate the rebuilding of our one strong relationship with the township. The committee aims to foster collaboration, and we eagerly anticipate engaging in constructive discussions with the representatives of Lower Saucon Township in the coming days, weeks, months, and years. We share this suggestion please share this suggestion with your council members in the hope we can start discussion. Happy New Year. So this is put on the agenda, and you had a question?
Yeah, I do. This is an interesting request to receive at this time. I would point out a few things. One, the Hellertown Borough Police Chief is under investigation for missing over $120,000 of borough money. Mayor Heitzman oversees the police department. Tom Rieger, the Borough Council President, played politics at the library, and I showed those emails at our last meeting where he directed the library board chair to not speak with Lower Saucon Township. He also acknowledged that Hellertown Library is essentially the same as Hellertown Borough. The Hellertown Library refused multiple right-to-know requests, refused the legal opinions from the Office of Open Records, finding that they should turn over information, and that the Court of Common Pleas most recently has issued sanctions, or is having a hearing for sanctions against the library for failing to comply with discovery. And I would also point out some media articles. This is from September 5, 2023. Hellertown Borough released the findings from the borough's 2022 financial audit, and the key findings financially show that the borough's financial position decreased $2,064,533 during 2022, primarily due to an overall increase in expenditures in 2022. The borough also issued a general note obligation to finance a new public works building. The borough had a total of $1,949,357 in outstanding debt. There was a resignation of a public works employee. Councilmember Andrew Hughes proposed that they not fill that position because they had some financial challenges. They also had problems with their pension. The pension trust fund showed a decrease in funds net to $1.3 million due to a sizable investment loss in 2022 when the market was sizzling. So they had an overall net position decrease by over $2 million. Their notes payable increased by a lot, and they have a general note obligation. And the way they've treated this township and this council and its residents is appalling. And to suggest that now they want our money is even more appalling for Lower Saucon Township taxpayers. To think that somehow Lower Saucon is going to bail them out for their malfeasance and their financial problems is insane. And the only reason I can see why they're proposing having this committee to, quote, move forward together is to cozy up to Lower Saucon Township. But when I attended an event that was hosted by Pastor Phil Spahn at Mayor Heinzelman's Carriage House to bring forward a proposal that this council had made to try to mend fences on all of those issues, they refused to talk about it. Tom, you were there. Pastor Phil would not allow me to share the terms of that offer with the public, but now all of a sudden they want to have a conversation with us. I find it very interesting, peculiar, and it just smells of problems for the township and its residents, and most importantly, its tax dollars.
Okay,
So,
anybody else?
so
Sorry,
if this proceeds forward, I would make a motion that Tom Carochi be appointed as the Borough Council staff liaison to any committee to keep an eye on this stuff, because it needs an eye on it. Certainly the Attorney General's office is investigating this, and I can't wait for those results to come out. I'm sure the public is anxious about that. Oh, and another thing, we received a report that they left the borough without municipal police coverage in December, requiring the state police to provide police services for the borough. That's only one report that I received. I don't know how many times that has taken place, but I find it problematic, particularly when we just added 2 police officers to this department, and we paid for 4 additional police officers to provide greater public safety for our community, that somehow those resources that we have sought, found, paid for, and have here to protect our community could be squandered in another community that does not run itself as effectively and efficiently as this township has. So I made a motion to appoint Tom.
Tom, second.
Now, I also would like to be recognized. Am I right?
I'm not understanding you.
I'd like to be recognized to speak. Recognized to speak.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this email from Kathy Hartgraft, I mean, the subject is moving forward together, should be moving forward with Lower Saucon taxpayer dollars, is what it really should be, because that's what it is. It's basically a solicitation for our tax dollars. They have no interest in moving forward together. They want to make all the decisions, and they just want our tax dollars. We're going to give tax dollars to this borough manager. The indictment of the police chief says he's been stealing money since 2015, right under her nose, since 2015. It's in the indictment. And not there, not the mayor, nothing's going on. The borough manager, whatever. And this is the second police chief in a row who has been fired for alleged embezzlement. And we've had, how many embezzlements have we had in Dewey, Priscilla, over your years? At least 2, right?
I have no comment.
You're not gonna say
I
there's
don't
2?
know. I'm not gonna
More than
pull it out of my
one?
head.
More than one?
I'm not gonna tell you
Okay.
something
There's
that I
been, I
don't
think, at
know.
least 2. I think there's been at least 2. So again, this is about moving forward with Lower Saucon Township taxpayer dollars. This is not about moving forward together. And, it is, as Jason touched on, it's a little bit of political payback by the newly elected council members. They want to take care of their Democratic friends in Hellertown, I guess. But this is definitely just moving forward with Lower Saucon Township taxpayer dollars. They have no interest in being together, certainly without the money. So I look forward to being appointed the liaison.
I have one comment, Jason, and I'm gonna ask the solicitor Would you report on a recent, I was gonna ask you under reports, the recent lawsuit update, on the,
With regard to the right to know?
Jason mentioned
We're
it.
talking about litigation outcomes in open session, not in executive session.
No, I
This
wasn't talking
isn't-
about litigation.
I'm just asking, I'm making sure.
This isn't, this has, this
That
is.
wasn't, that wasn't your question, was it? Maybe
Well,
I was
we
answering your
just
question.
got an update from the court decision.
Well, there was just 2 orders that were issued.
Right,
But
so
do you
that-
not-
that's-
Do you
we
not
don't-
want me to talk about the 2 orders that are public
Yeah,
record that were issued?
Yeah,
For
I
public
want you
record,
to.
that's fine, I'm just asking, because we met, last meeting, we had an executive session for 45 minutes. We talked about all sorts of
I was
litigation.
given direction.
Right, and now we have an outcome that we can
Okay.
announce to the public. I was gonna wait for the solicitor's reports, but since you brought it up under your, whatever, your comments were, I thought I'd ask the solicitor's report.
So there was
When
a,
did you get the,
what's that?
when did you get the orders?
Well,
We got an email,
I think,
didn't you send
didn't you
something?
circulate that?
Yeah, you see
Yeah, I think
circulated
we
an email to
This
all
one had the
council.
trial continuance, right?
One is about the trial continuance, one is about the contempt continuance.
Okay, yeah, I mean, they continue.
Well, you saw this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Right,
Do you
but I-
have- Do you want the public to know?
Well,
I don't
wait
know.
till your
You know-
report.
Okay.
Report then, okay.
Maybe the public doesn't know.
No, the public should know because we haven't been updated.
I don't know what you guys want.
I mean, let's just put it out there now. You got 2 orders for the court that continued 2 matters, right? That's all that we got,
Okay.
right? I mean, is that a fair statement?
No.
I'd rather have the solicitor put it in his words than a council member's words.
You want me to do it now?
I do.
So there were 2, in the right to know litigation that's pending in the court of common pleas, there were 2 pending proceedings. One was a contempt proceeding with regard to discovery against the Hilltown Area Library. The counsel for Hilltown Area Library asked if that could be continued. Counsel for the township agreed, the court agreed to continue it indefinitely. There was also a trial on the right to know case that was scheduled for later this month. There was a continuance request made to the court, and that's now continued.
Okay, thank you for that update. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion by council before I open it up to the audience? Anybody?
I'd like to ask the solicitor a question regarding that, regarding his statement.
I'm sorry, you're mumbling again. I can't understand.
So can I be recognized?
Go ahead.
All right, Mr. Solicitor, did you have, before agreeing to the continuance, did you agree to the continuance?
I'm not counsel of record.
Okay, who's counsel of record?
Eckert Siemens.
Okay. Were they directed by you?
We met in executive session and I relayed the council's wishes to them
About the continuance?
about the cases, yes.
No, but
Yes,
they requested.
you weren't there. I know you were supposed to
Right,
call in, but
right,
you couldn't make
right.
it or something.
So I'm just asking though about, they requested a continuance, correct?
On which matter?
Both matters.
No.
Which one did they request?
Who's they?
What's that?
Who's they?
Who? I told you.
Who's they? You're saying they requested, or you're saying? Who made the
Who
request?
did? Eckert Siemens requested
For
continuance?
which one?
For both of them.
So
Explain both of them again to me. I didn't understand what you said.
Okay.
Right.
We want to get.
Okay.
The Eckert Siemens requested the continuance on the trial. And Hellertown Area Library requested the continuance on the contempt.
Okay, and or Eckert Siemens agreed on the contempt?
Eckert Siemens agreed on the contempt.
No. So,
Eckert Siemens, I was there. I mean, Eckert Siemens, we had talked about this. I don't think I'm disclosing anything in confidence here. But we had agreed in executive session to continue the trial because the trial was scheduled for later in January and discovery had not been completed because Hellertown was in violation of the court's order and there was a pending contempt. And that was agreed upon. There was no agreement to continue the contempt, and in fact, as what I specifically recall, was the majority of council, not me, but the majority of council had directed to proceed with the contempt
My
hearing.
recommendation.
To proceed with the contempt hearing because, and at Eckerd Siemens' recommendation, it was not for the township to take a position on continuing that or doing anything with that because it was the court enforcing its own order, and who are we to tell the court what it should be doing?
Correct.
So
who made the decision
So who continued the contempt?
Okay, so let me say it again. I'm obviously not being clear, and I apologize. Eckerd Siemens is counsel of the record. Eckerd Siemens agreed the continuance.
Of?
The contempt.
And not in our direction, didn't they ask us to
No,
decline it?
we had a discussion, they were gonna appear, counsel then asked them, they agreed and let me know afterwards that they had agreed.
Who was they, Eckerd Siemens?
Eckerd Siemens.
Okay, and you're saying that they agreed to it prior to, asking their client, us, you, and us, whether we would agree to it?
They did, but based on the conversation, they felt it was consistent with the tenor of the conversation we were having. When the conversation.
Who had the conversation, you and Eckerd Siemens?
Yeah, based on direction of executive session that you missed.
Right, that's right.
But I was there, I can clarify this, the direction that you had in that executive session was to continue the trial so that discovery could be completed, because if the trial was to take place in January, hold on, I'm not done. If the trial was to take place in January, the discovery that was outstanding and subject to the contempt was not completed. So they would need more time to continue the trial so they could get that discovery completed. I don't think there was any agreement to punt on the contempt, far from it.
Well, then pick it up with Eckerd Siemens. Well, what can I tell you? I'm gonna try this one more time.
We had a conversation with them and apparently agreed.
Stop
with it.
interrupting,
No, you're
one
wrong.
at a time.
I've said it. I can't.
I'm sorry.
I say things, and then I'm told I say things that I didn't say. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable to me that you can't answer these simple
Okay.
questions.
I've answered the question over and over again, and you don't like the answer, so you change the answer.
Right.
I'm sorry you don't like the answer.
My
I followed,
question is-
hold on. I followed direction in executive session that you missed. I don't know why. You missed. I followed the direction. I had a conversation.
You didn't. Jason
Okay,
is
you know
saying.
what, enough.
Jason is
Okay,
saying you
I
didn't
had
follow
it.
the
No,
directions.
we're done.
Jason is saying
We're
you
done.
didn't
Are
follow
you,
the
are you
directions.
tapping my phones?
No,
You
Jason
don't,
said
you don't know the conversation.
But Jason just said that was not the direction. Jason just said it wasn't the direction. He just said
Okay,
it wasn't.
It's
okay.
like,
Jason, can you just restate what you
I'm so
said?
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Jason, can you just say what's your understanding of executive session?
I think we can talk about executive session. Why
I
are we
told you
talking
what
about
I
executive
told you.
session if it's supposed to be called executive
All I
session?
asked, wait a minute.
Solicitor said we could.
Okay, enough. We're done with this conversation.
You didn't want me, no, frankly, you didn't want me to discuss the inner workings, but you decided it was okay, because you thought it was.
Okay.
Look, you think people don't see that you're just trying to attack and find
Why are you
holes?
accusing
I mean,
me
it's
of
obvious.
something?
I'm not accusing you, it's obvious, it's on the tape. I don't have to accuse you of anything.
All right,
I'm laying
so,
out what happened in the executive session, because you said that.
You specifically said, let's not talk about specifics about what happened in there, and then when you
That's-
decided, I didn't say that. I said the exact opposite. I said the exact opposite. I said we could talk about the orders, now it was discussed in
And the
there.
orders are related to what we talked about.
oh my gosh,
It's
okay,
unbelievable.
I
It's
know,
unbelievable.
unbelievable. You have to witness this for yourself to believe it.
It's unbelievable, right, it's unbelievable. I mean, I understand if you wanted to replace Link, but it's unbelievable, we couldn't find a better
Sir,
solution.
you know what, sir?
Bridge.
You're gonna get your wish, don't worry about it, okay? And God bless you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, enough now, no more discussion by council, I'm done, we're done. Okay, we've all had many chances, and we're done. From now on, one turn only, and that's it. So you better prepare what you're gonna say. So, I guess with that, anybody in the audience?
Anybody else? I don't want to steal anybody's thunder.
No, you're, just keep coming, that's fine.
Thank you. Finally. All right, 4:58. Listen, I prepared tonight a separate card just for this House discussion, and I got a lot of my thunder stolen, okay? So I want to report that to the police, stolen thunder. The bottom line is 4 years ago, Priscilla,
I'm listening, I'm just trying to figure out
4
what you're
years
talking
ago, I remember a subcommittee, and I was so new, I didn't have a foggiest idea who and what. They came in as the last item, it was late in December, and they came in, sat at this table, and they represented the Howe Committee. And if I don't get these words right, please bear with me, I'll try to clarify it for you. They came in, there were about 4 of them, and I think you might have been there, okay? And the board was asked at that point, we have this document and we want it signed tonight, and it is to join for the coming year, how? And I have to paraphrase, I really need to go back and get the minutes and review it, and I will. And the bottom line is, somebody asked on the council, has the attorney seen this? And so somebody turned to Lynn Treadwell and said, have you seen this? And he said, no, nobody's shown it to me. And then somebody else, or maybe he asked, has anybody else on the council seen it? And the answer was, one person had seen it, and that was the person that spearheaded the committee. So at that point, there was a motion made, there might have been some discussion in between. Would you please review this document? It's calling for $150,000, and it spells out whatever rights we may have and the payments we need to make. And I'm thinking, that's outrageous, $150,000, and nobody's seen this agreement? And the demand of this committee or subcommittee or whatever it was, that it be signed that night. Last night, it wasn't even on, I don't think it was even on the agenda. So yeah, if people are a little hot about this, I got a whole bunch of them, and he read them off. You look at Hellertown, Hal's right at the front. Have I read Judge Daly's? He is the head of the court in Northampton County. He is the president judge. He's already ruled on it, and Hal still, after 4 years, won't turn over their records. What? You look perplexed. Is that
They have
not
turned
correct?
over their records to us.
Yeah, over their financial records,
Right.
okay? I expect you should know that. And certainly, all of the attorneys here, 1, 2, 3, 4, know what I'm talking about. I'm not an attorney, I'm a physicist. But by God, I can see when things are really bad. When you have a 501c3 who will not turn over the records, and then we find out in the newspaper, WFMC, whatever, that the government of Hellertown is really controlling it, therefore, all of their rights go away. And we still don't have those records, and we still can't point to that and say, hey, there's something really wrong with that. And now we got a police chief, yep, 200,000, and we're supposed to go to the state for him, but no, it ended up back in Northampton. Gee, isn't that interesting? Wow, we have, yeah, I know about the fire department, and yeah, that was another couple of 100,000. You know, what's 100,000 here, 200,000 there, and you want to have a liaison. Maybe it should definitely be that guy. He's the only guy in him that asks the hard questions, and everybody hates him because they see things that are just so, oh, they're so mean. I say, if you want to be honest and transparent, you will have naysayers in your council. And if you don't want to be transparent and honest, then ignore them.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Okay, anybody else? With that, then, we have a motion on the floor to, I believe, appoint Tom to the liaison.
Correct.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Alpert-Cordero, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
No.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Mr. Bonones?
Yes. Sorry, Tom. Sorry.
Okay,
Motion fails.
Nominate make a motion to nominate Jason as the liaison.
I'll second.
Okay, anybody in the audience, anybody on council?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Somebody in the audience, right? There's a man that knows his facts, knows his numbers, spins them right off the top of his head, and he's spot on. There's a guy that pursues Hal with Link Treadwell, who, by the way, excellent solicitor. I never remember once anybody on this panel saying to him, Mr. Treadwell, can you tell us this? And he'd have that answer spot on right away. Knew it cold, upside down. There were no arguments, there were no and if you didn't like his answer, he'd fill it in with more case examples and et cetera, et cetera. What I'm saying, it's part of professional lawyering at the highest level that gives us a clear in view into those cases like Hal, which there's something really, really bad when you have to hide that and you have to thumb your nose at the president judge of the Northampton County court system. And for 4 years, this has been going on. And 4 years, it's been a political football with signs and posters and pop-up people in the audience yelling and screaming about, little Johnny can't read because we don't have Hal. Yeah, you have Hal. And by the way, 12, 13 years ago now, we weren't gonna leave the Bethlehem Library either, because that was the best one in the world. Over my dead body, are we gonna leave it? Anybody wants the page on that? Yeah, I got it at WFMZ, and it will tell you who said that, but we did leave it.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else? We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Carucci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
No.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Satoff Cadera?
No.
Okay, I'd like to make a
Motion
motion.
passes.
Can we do everybody?
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint myself and Victoria to this committee. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, anybody in the audience? Anybody?
The same agenda item, do you have to?
Every
I'm
time we
sorry,
have a motion.
what was that comment? I'd like to hear it.
He's asking if I would vote for him over Jason.
I just want to know where she's from. See, that's not funny, I just want to know where she's from.
I'm sorry, you asked me what he said.
You know, Victoria, between you and I remember the landfill committee hearing where you spoke for 15 minutes while I sat in that chair and next to me was Donna Louder. And after 15, 20 minutes of grilling the landfill engineer, then you thanked everybody and sat down. And somebody made a comment about, there's one fact you have wrong. You came up out of your chair over here and started yelling and screaming
Yeah, this isn't.
in the microphone.
This is.
So, when you start laughing at me,
I'm not, I was laughing at Mr. Carucci's question. You asked me what he was talking to me about, I'm sorry. I was not
no,
laughing at
I
you.
expect better out of you. You're part of the legal system.
Yeah, Ms. Satoff has been, there's been a motion to nominate her as a liaison. He can certainly speak to her, his experience with her at other meetings, and it's certainly on the agenda. She's just been nominated for a liaison.
Okay. Where were we?
I don't know, where were you?
You were going to appoint yourself
Right.
and her to this committee, okay? Let me ask you about the two people on the EAC committee. We had no reports from them, and yet we have one of the worst environmental disasters in this township with the scathing of that whole hillside with trees gone and water running down the hills and storms. No, you look at me like you don't know what it is. Did you not see this man sitting here with all these pictures? And the trees are gone, and the trucks have eroded all the soil, and she doesn't know about it. And you were good because you backed her up and said, yes, I did attend the meeting when asked about their reports. They both both went to the meeting, and nobody said boo about this. You will hear more about that, because I will refresh it. I will get the aerial shots, that whole area, 100 acres on the side of the hill.
Steel City?
What?
Are you talking about
What's
the
the
timber
lower side?
in Steel City? The trees that the poster that Russ Sun had here?
Yeah.
You don't know where I live, do you?
You live right outside of Steel City on the top of the hill. You live
Right.
right next to where the tower's going.
Exactly.
Yeah, you live right near where the pipeline was gonna go through,
No, I
but
didn't
you
live
struck that down.
I didn't live near the pipeline.
Well, it's the other end of town,
I did.
down by somebody else that's here. Okay. Anyhow, that's neither here nor there. Those are important. So when you appoint people to committees, I really expect when they go, and we're gonna now have this little environmental council thingy, right, whatever it is, great. Go, learn, be smart. I went to Princeton University for 6 months in order to sit on that planning board council. Okay, that was a requirement, and that ought to be true here. So when they say we want to go to that, those meetings, absolutely, go, definitely go. But when you have an EAC meeting, you better have your ears, and I don't know this guy that you're appointing as the chair of that. I mean, haven't heard anything about that, haven't seen anything in the paper. I find that just absolutely appalling that that whole hillside has been absolutely logged to death, and there's no ground cover, and there goes the soil, 2 inches worth of rain, we got a winter coming, and nobody knows anything about it. I noticed the reporter's not here tonight.
Hey, thank you. He can watch the tape if he's interested.
Yes.
Okay,
Can we
so
separate why do we have to vote for both at once? Why can't we separate it? I wanna vote for Victoria.
my
but
motion is my motion.
not against Priscilla.
Can we recognize Priscilla?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to say that I think that it was a very nice email we received. I think as we sit here, it's 11:25, and I'm only laughing because I'm stunned. No, I'm just stunned. We had a lot of discussion about decorum and professionalism, and a lot of things talked about regarding Hellertown in a negative light. And I think our community has spoken and wanting to see that our community acts as a community. We have Saucon Valley School District, we have a shared library that our residents used to go to with the residents of Hellertown. We had a compost center. I think everybody in the township drives through Hellertown to get someplace at least once a week, if not every day. And I think that the same can be said for people in Hellertown. I don't think trying to work together as a community has anything to do with anybody's opinion about a fire, about the fire services in Hellertown or the police chief in Hellertown. I perceive that to be comments that only frustrate the community and frustrate the ability to work together. And so I would be happy to serve on this. And I think it's a working committee to just find where we have common ground and where we can work together and be together as a community. And I think that's what the residents have wanted to see. That's what I heard all of 2022, 2023, and I look forward to following through on the request of what I've heard from the community. So I appreciate that I was nominated to be appointed with Priscilla, and I think that Priscilla, because she was the founder of our Saucon Valley Partnership, which was a collaboration of the school board, the borough, and the township to find out how we could work together. I think that she would be the most important person to have with all of the history. And our residents want to return to that, and I would be proud to work with her, and I would be proud to work with the community on getting that done.
Okay.
Victoria, I'd like to support you.
You know what,
on
I
that,
said one time,
But,
council.
that's not in the procedures. Victoria, I'd like to support you on that, I want to, but, will you promise that, when it comes to funding in joint ventures, that you will be cognizant of how much control we have over how Lower Saucon taxpayer dollars are spent? in any type of joint venture with the borough.
Okay, this is
I'd like
a
to
warning
support it.
again, we're council,
I'd like to
we're gonna
support
talk
it.
about one time, and you talked already on
That's
this
not on the
motion.
procedures, though, that's not. on the procedures.
I'm the president, I can.
You can just make the procedures as you
I
go along.
can, this is a meeting, I'm in control of the meeting, like
So
it or
you're not gonna
not,
commit to that?
like it or not. Can we have a
No,
roll
I don't
call,
know
please?
why I said
I can spoke on this issue.
Okay,
Roll call. Thank you. So, my comments that I made earlier are not directed toward the residents of Hellertown. There are plenty of fine people that live in Hellertown, and, you know, throughout all of this, my comments have never been directed towards the folks in Hellertown. I've got family and friends in Hellertown, but unfortunately, they have some bad people who are making decisions for them. There's a level of incompetence, there's criminality, allegedly, and there's certainly duplicity. And that's what causes me concern with all of this. Had they, you know, elected better people to decide the fate of their community, make better decisions to provide for all the services that they need, you know, maybe my position on this would be different, but they haven't. And unfortunately, those are the folks that are asking to cooperate with this township. And I can only assume that their motives are not above board and are not in the best interest of the residents of this community. I've sworn an oath to the residents of this community. And I would echo what Tom was mentioning earlier, and that is, I would like a commitment from anybody, assuming that this committee proceeds forward, anybody from this township who is going to be participating in this, provide notice to the other members of council so that they can attend meetings if they wish. And also to always put the interest of the Lower Saukett residents first, particularly from a financial standpoint, because it's very clear to me that the borough of Hellertown is significantly indebted, in dire financial straits, and they want our money. And without having that guarantee from those who would be serving on this committee to always advocate for those points and be transparent about them causes me great concern.
Okay, Lauren, did you have anything to say?
No, I don't think I wanna go there.
We didn't have the money.
We need
and
somebody-
Fountain Hill did, or Bethlehem
You're
Township
not
did, that's who
recognized,
got-
Tom.
That's
You're
who
not
they would be talking to,
recognized.
not us. That's who
Need
Kathy would
somebody
send
that
email.
can act professionally and work with our Hellertown borough. And we know where we landed now is because of past things that have happened, and we want to discontinue that. We need better relationships, and that's what this, you know, the behavior that's shown here shows why we are where we are. We need to have better people. They want to talk with us, and we wanna rebuild.
Okay, so, roll call, please. Tom, you're not recognized.
Ms.
Roll
Ray,
call,
how do you
please.
vote?
Yes.
Christina Allen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
No, because I haven't received any assurances.
Ms. Afdal-Kader?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
I want, no on Priscilla, yes on Victoria.
Motion passes.
Okay, and we will be reporting back to council on, any meetings that we have with updates.
Will you be telling us when meetings are taking place so that we can participate if the residents of the public are interested?
Okay, we're moving on to the next agenda
I think that was a
item.
no.
Approval of December 20th, 2023 council minutes. Council has in their packet. Anybody have any corrections, deletions, additions? If not, is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Okay, Jason, I'll second. We have a roll call, please.
Ms. Allen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Afdal-Kader?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
They weren't after the, they weren't on the board.
We just came back from a PSATS conference and we're allowed to vote even because they were new council members.
They weren't on council.
We just came back from a boot camp PSATS conference. I'll repeat it again if you didn't understand me the first time, okay? That question was specifically addressed, and they said that new council members, correct me if I'm wrong, Laura and Cory, we were both there, that they can vote on minutes.
Is that a lawyer who told you that?
It was PSATS.
I understand, it's PSATs, but they're not a lawyer. We have a solicitor here that we're paying a lot of money to tonight, so can you answer that question? Can he answer that question?
Yes, he will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Croce?
No.
Ms. Ray?
We're approving the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so that was how, 5-0?
4-0.
Four to 1. You voted one.
I did.
Okay.
Because we haven't heard from an attorney on this.
Again, you're mumbling, I can't understand a word you're saying. So moving on then, we have, council and staff reports. We'll start with, Mark Hudson, the council.
Just that sorry.
It's been a long day.
This Saturday, January 20th, is the last day for Christmas tree collection from 9 to 1. That's it.
That's it? Okay, next we'll start with, Jason, you have a report?
I do not. In the
Laura?
interest of time, I do not.
Laura, do you have a report?
No, I don't have a report.
Okay, Tom?
Yes, not a report so much as a request. I would like
I'm not
the
understanding the
solicitor
word you're saying.
I would like to understand if a member of council has a conflict of interest or doesn't, but if the opposing party, so for example, if the township gets sued because a member of council, they're claiming a member of council had a conflict of interest, who pays to defend that suit? Would it be the township taxpayers? If the individuals, would the suit be against council? Would it be against individual? And who would pay for that lawsuit? So if you don't want to answer it tonight, that's fine. I would just like an answer perhaps next meeting of what type of liability we're looking at if a council member has a conflict of interest and a party sues and they are successful in that lawsuit. What can be the possible ramifications of that?
Hey, Mark, did you want to get back to us on that?
I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Victoria?
Thank you. Just really quick, I did have an opportunity to attend the Water Authority meeting that happened yesterday. It was wonderful to see that we had township residents that all volunteer their time and have been working really hard to make sure that we have great water and sewer services. So I want to thank the members of the Water Authority for welcoming me to their meeting. I can say that they were able to move forward on the Meadows Bridge project. If anybody didn't know, the Meadows Bridge project is very complicated because it not only involves replacement of a bridge over the stream, and we all know that that's been taking forever. The bridge is owned by the county. But because of that, it involves relocation of a number of sewage lines and water lines in and around the Meadows Bridge. So our water authority has been working very diligently, and they've had a whole bidding process and timeline in place to be able to replace those lines in concert with what the county is doing to replace the bridge. And so it was wonderful to hear all the work that was done on that. I also heard about the updates on the pumping station. If you all know, we have a pumping station that's in the process of being constructed over by Giant, and that pumping station would allow for not only treatment, or I should say receival of the sewage that comes from the Giant Shopping Center, but also allow additional capacity for future needs of the township. And as we end here tonight, I thought what was wonderful to hear is that our township authority had been working with the Hellertown Borough Authority for years in a very collaborative and respectful way to save Lower Saucon Township taxpayers money on the wastewater that comes from the Giant Shopping Center, because we didn't have the capacity to handle that, and the pumping station is part of that. So in the interim, instead of our township having to collect from one station and truck it to another station on a daily basis, we were able to send the excess sewage line through the Hellertown Water Authority and therefore alleviate the concerns of our township. And I think it was a wonderful example of how the communities can work together to help each other. And I hope that we can use that moving forward in what we do with the other aspects of our township. And so that's what my report is.
May I ask a question?
Okay, thank you, sure.
What is the fee that the Lower Stockton Authority is paying to the Hellertown Authority for this benevolence in allowing our sewage to pass through their system?
Well, I wouldn't characterize it as benevolence.
So we're paying.
I had asked the Water Authority yesterday about how that agreement works, and my understanding is that the township did not have the capacity to handle the sewage coming from the giant shopping center. They looked into the cost to maintain that situation, and it involved hiring basically a trucking company to come and like pump it out of one location and dump it in another location on a daily basis. So it involved a lot of expense in that regard. And to avoid that, they approached the Hellertown Water Authority to see if there was something that would be more reasonable that they could do. And to the specific numbers, I don't have the actual numbers in front of me. The Water Authority is a public meeting, and certainly this is not the first time they've discussed the pumping station. So I think if you do have questions, I would invite you to the next Water Authority
They
meeting.
didn't tell you how much?
No, they did, I just can't recite the figure to you tonight. I don't have, I didn't write all of that down. The
Tom, do you remember what
synopsis
it was
was
gonna be?
that we saved money, and so that's what I'm reporting. I think if you have questions about the specifics of the pumping station, I direct you to the Water Authority, and I think you'd be happy to hear about all the volunteers and what they do there.
Well, you're the liaison, but Tom, you were the liaison to the Water Authority before, and what was the fee going to be if the Lower Stockton Water Authority didn't complete its pumping station in time?
It wasn't so much the fee, but Hellertown wanted to charge Lower Stockton for all of the upgrades to their system if we kept using it past, I believe, this year.
December 31st.
December 31st. And the authority worked out an agreement where it would be trucked away, not every day, but it had to be trucked away at least a couple times a month. And PennDOT agreed to pay for those costs because of the delay in the bridge was their fault. In fact, they showed PennDOT they couldn't go forward with the pumping station until PennDOT decided exactly where they're gonna put the bridge. So PennDOT agreed to reimburse the township, the water authority, not the township, for taking that,
For the trucking
that stuff
costs.
away. But, yeah, it was, Hellertown was, holding basically a gun to the authorities' head saying you have to pay for all the systems upgrades if you use it after December 31st, 2020.
And now it sounds like we're using that system, so I guess we can anticipate that the Water Authority is going to get a bill.
I don't know if they caved or if they went with PennDOT. I don't know what they're doing.
And if they get a bill, what effect will that be on our water and sewage rates?
Again, I'm just reporting to what was said yesterday. Again, both of you would be invited to come to the Water Authority meetings. They are public, and what happened yesterday, which we weren't there at, as I explained, was that there is a cooperation. And I hope to move forward in cooperation, in the spirit of cooperation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I would like to say with condolences, the passing of Gar Davison, who was the authority's, I don't know what his title was, executive director. And I worked with Gar for many years. He was a great person. He was always there helping, and it's with regret. His heart was always in the right place, so I just like to take that moment to remember him with the authority. This week is Restaurant Week, runs till Saturday. You can go on the township's website, and thank you for posting all those places to go to eat and their menus, and hope people take advantage of that. We also received an odor complaint log today in emails, and there's a landfill meeting tomorrow, which that'll be discussed. The meeting's at 2, and I'm not gonna go over the thing, but you can see this is a lot of odor complaints. So I also would like to reach out and thank the Lower Saucon Fire Rescue, because on Sunday, 287 residents were without power in Steel City. And power was out, I'm guessing maybe 5 hours, 6 hours, but when you went on the PPL website, it said that power would be restored at 11 p.m. on Tuesday. So everybody was panicking that we were gonna be without electric for 2 hours. So, I talked to Ty Johnson because, of course, the fire station needed to be heated because they, you know, so the guys were working down there trying to get a generator going, and with the, plan B would be that if the, electric was out for a period of time, they were gonna open Steel City Fire Company up for our residents for warmth and for charging phones or whatever they needed. So I really, really appreciate the thought to do that, so I'm gonna thank them publicly. And with that, I'm done with my report. So moving on, do you have anything to add, Bob? Okay, thank you. The engineer, Brian, you're still awake? You have nothing? Okay, I think I covered all that. Junior counsel's not here because past their bedtime. So, now we're opening up to the public for non-agenda, is this the list?
It's just people that might want to speak.
Okay, I don't know if people are still here or not. For non-agenda, 5 minutes. Bob?
I wanted to ask. I gotta go to the bathroom, man. Continue, please, continue. Wait, can you ask me? All right, I'll stay for you then. I'll stay for one, then I'll go to the bathroom. You're killing me. I'm an old man. Go ahead. Bob, wait.
I had to go back out to the car this evening. As I was getting into the car, you jokingly said to me, "Leaving already?" You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. And I said, what, something like, not a chance or something like that.
I don't know, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah. And then what did you reply?
I said, you're gonna miss all the fun. And you would have.
Case closed.
All right, good, thank you. And you would have missed all the fun. You would have missed all the fun.
Okay, we have Mark Osmick.
All right,
You
Billy,
wanna
go
speak
get
on
him.
agenda items? You have, I'm reading off the list.
Let's just, so we have spellings.
Okay. Anybody want to speak and come to the podium? Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Well, I'll tell you, I've given talks all around the world, but none's been as entertaining as this one. I guess my question is about, I applaud your feel for wanting to cooperate with Hellertown. Unfortunately, I see the dark side of them, and it's not good. I would ask, from the get-go, how did Giant ever get approved in that whole shopping center without capacity to handle the sewage that comes out of it? And why is PennDOT not laying in the money in order to get this done? I mean, this is lunacy, okay? So when the next time you're at this meeting, assuming that you're gonna be the liaison, and yes, to me, I would ask the hard numbers, what are we paying? Who's repaying it to us? Otherwise, it's just a social event. I can tell you, money makes a difference. If your taxes go up 20%, well, maybe you don't care. But me, on a fixed income, you're darn tootin' it matters to me. So I pay attention. I also pay attention to character. So as I was saying the last time, when I wanted to get up, I got up to speak, and you came out of the dark, and they ended up closing the meetings on because you wouldn't yield, because you had to save your whatever it was. And that's wrong, and I don't want to ever see that again. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, please.
I know it's late, and I'll make this quick. It's Luke
Just
Dexter.
put the microphone.
Sure, maybe that's better. I know know it's late and I'll make this quick, but as an open agenda question I have, it's no secret that we've been talking to people on Lower Sarpin Road, or Easton Road, between Beechwood and Mockingbird. We've been interested in looking at developing that site, or some of that site, in conjunction with the LM ordinance that was enacted last year. At the first meeting, there was some discussion of changing that ordinance back to R40. We've had numerous homeowners that we have either under agreement or discussions with, asking us if they'll get an opportunity to come and give their opinion as to a change back to R40. The homeowners down there, in many cases, have come to terms with us based on pricing that is above normal market pricing for their homes, so they are anxious to be able to go to an agreement where they can monetize homes that they aren't particularly happy with based on what's happening across the street. In all fairness to them, they would like to have an audience to come in here and speak. They've asked us if we know anything about a forum where they can come in and at least have an open discussion with you all about your intention as to that ordinance, because for us to move forward and spend money, it wouldn't make sense if the ordinance will change, and I think they want a fair read, as do we, as to what is next. And right now, we're flying in the dark, so in due respect to both those people and us as a developer, we'd like to understand timing and opportunity to voice opinions, either for or against the R40 change from the LM district between Mockingbird and Beechwood.
Did we put that on the agenda, are we advertising?
No, it's not.
I think maybe for Mr. Pector's benefit, we did authorize the staff to prepare an ordinance to put the area that was previously in R40, and then that was rezoned in 2023 to LM Light Manufacturing. We authorized the staff to prepare an ordinance that would put it back in R40, but the staff is still working on that. I'm sure you know that once they prepare that ordinance, there's a procedure in place to have public hearings, and I indicated on January 2nd that I would really love to hear from all of the members of the audience, and from anybody who would be impacted by that. So there would be when that ordinance comes forward, there would be an opportunity. I think there also was a discussion on January 2nd about the idea of looking at what uses were permitted in the LM district, and what things we could do to provide for more opportunity for commercial uses in that area. I can tell you my concern was about warehousing in that area, and I'm sure you are aware, we just invested over $3 million in a ball field that was part of that district. So I would say to you, please stay tuned, and as soon as we hear from our staff about when they have some proposals, we would then bring it forward in another public meeting. And as you know, if we ever did rezoning, we would have to have a hearing with all the public notice and all of that for everybody to come out.
Yeah, I understand it's probably a chicken and egg as to whether the ordinance pending would stop any ability to develop or not. I don't really know procedurally what dictates that law at this point, but those people, I think, should be heard at some point. They should be given an opportunity before it's not possible for them to monetize the property. If the council so votes to change it, that's, so be it, that's understood. But I do know a lot of them have not been in the audience at these meetings. They're asking us if they should come, and I'm trying to give them an answer and give them direction. On our side, we can look at municipal procedure and decide at what point the game's over anyway. But I think they do deserve a voice and an opinion to be heard.
I agree with you. And everything you said, I think we would be willing and happy to provide. And we have to legally, so there would be any situation where we could somehow pass something without them knowing.
I agree too, there needs to be a forum, but I also hesitate to ask, but you know, I think I'd like some advice from our solicitor as to when an ordinance is passed and then it's revoked, and people, whether it's Mr. Pector or others, have made financial decisions and commitments on the ordinance as passed, what liability does the township have for taking or changing that? I think we would need to know that, so, you know, I don't know if not tonight, I mean, I understand it's something you may need to look into, but, I would be worried about, liability for people who said that they had an agreement to sell their house above market value, and now the township's pulling the rug underneath them. Can they go to court and sue us? I don't know. But would we be liable for that? Would the township be liable for anything like that? I think, that we need to understand those questions before we, change any ordinances. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I have a letter I received from Larry Petfield. My name is Larry Petfield. I'm the current township resident. In addition to this, my wife and I own 5.67 acres of additional raw land along Easton Road. We have owned this land for 40 plus years. It has been in my family for 3 generations. We have been waiting a long time for the most recent zoning change, R40 to LM, in November of 2022. My wife and I are happy to see this come. We're happy to see this come. This property would not be our choice to live because of the surrounding environment. We have I-78 immediately to our south and LVIP to the north. We feel the zoning change was a good thing for us and the township, especially related to the revenue for the township and property value for us. It is a property in a commercial area that is finally zoned commercial. We ask that you please keep this zone commercial or light manufacturing. For all the property owners on this stretch of Easton Road, keeping this as light manufacturing zoning is going to help everyone not hurt their property values. Reverting this back to R40 is a true step backward when considering the value of people's properties.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mark, is that the same gentleman, do you know, that was here on January 2nd? I think there was a gentleman that talked about
I think it was.
that type of property. Okay, just wanted to confirm it was the same gentleman. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no one else in the audience that care to speak, then is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Victoria, I'll second.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
No.
Ms. Alcantara?
Yes.
Mr. Reggie?
So soon? Yes.
Ms. Reggie?
Yes.
Ms. Delia?
Yes.
Motion passes. Have a good night.
Okay, and the time is what?
Good morning.
11:52.
Good morning.
Yes, I should.
Bye. It's finally over at midnight.
Sure.